ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all-natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, a Thursday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We've got you for the next 4 hours. We'll talk some Royals baseball. Much more enjoyable conversation I think that we'll have today based on the 8th inning. Although going into the bottom of the 8th inning with 2 outs and nobody on and Bobby Witt coming to the plate, I didn't think we'd be having an enjoyable conversation today. But that will be the case, at least for the most part. They get ready for the Cleveland Guardians over the next 4. We'll look a little bit at that series, but also break down what the Royals are doing right now, the significance of the win yesterday, and look at that 8th inning if something bigger may have happened there. So we'll talk some Royals baseball. Brady Singer, what he did, that I think there may be something more significant about that outing for Brady Singer specifically. We'll have to wait for more data points to come in, but I at least want to talk about it to see if there's something there. If Sterling and Dilling may think that's Dilling and Sterling hanging out with them today. Sterling, how you doing? Dilling, you feeling good?
That might have been a mix-up with Dillingham from last night in the draft. I'll give you that one.
Exactly.
From Kentucky.
You became so Louisville so quick, and it's just
Sterling.
Hey, Sterling. It sounds when I go to Louisville every year for family reunion in Southern Indiana. That's what they call me. Hey, Sterling. And I'm just shocked by now. Right now, like you were there for 3 days, and all of a sudden you're back to your Louisville roots.
It'll be my second Outsiders reference in as many days, but it's Ralph Macchio saying Dally in the Outsiders. Dilling. What's up, Dilling? You mean Dylan? That's what I said, Dilling. No, you didn't. It's the emphasis on the syllable that makes the difference. Like if you say, like we say Tennessee, the last syllable is where you have the emphasis, Tennessee. The emphasis on the first syllable here, Tennessee. Tennessee. Or Tennessee. I feel like Tennessee is the way it should be said. You know, there's no accent there. It's just Tennessee, not Tennessee.
You know what? This conversation has made me really want some Hennessy. That's all I know.
There you go. You mean Hennessy. Not some Hennessy. Almost some Hennessy. All right, it is Sterling and Dylan hanging out, and Jason. We've got you for the next 4 hours. We'll talk with Kent Swanson coming up at 11 o'clock, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Get his thoughts on the Chiefs heading into training camp. Less than 3 weeks from today, 2 weeks from Tuesday, the Chiefs will be reporting. Quarterbacks and rookies will be reporting to St. Joe's. So it may feel like it's a ways away, but sort of right around the corner, too. So we'll talk with Kent about any storylines or questions that he has for this Chiefs team right now, and if there's anything maybe he would have liked for them to accomplish in this offseason that they haven't yet, if there's something he would like to see them do or that they may do before training camp opens. We'll get into some of those things. He also has a piece up at KC Sports Network about the 5 free agents worth taking a flyer on for the Chiefs right now. So we'll talk about that as well and some other things. So Kent Swanson comes up at 11 o'clock. And, of course, at 1 o'clock, Sports or Leisure Today, presented by Johnny's Tavern. So we will play some Sports or Leisure in the final hour of the show, as we try to do every Thursday. Sometimes that gets mixed up, but we will do that today. The Royals get set for the 4-game set against the Guardians coming up tonight with Michael Wacha on the mound. And I want to talk about the series certainly today, about if there are advantages for the Royals going up against maybe the best team in baseball, or best team in the American League, especially how they've played as of late. Let's start, Sterling and Dilling, with last night's win, or yesterday afternoon's win, against the Miami Marlins. I feel like the same conversation can be had today that we had on Tuesday. And one of the questions I asked Les Norman was, hey, it's just one win against the Marlins, and this was Monday's win against the Marlins. So we were talking, after they won 4-1, Cole Reagans looked like he did. We didn't know Seth Lugo was going to be pulled early later on that night, but having the conversation with Les about, can one win really mean all that much? I mean, they're so much better at home than they are on the road. They come back home and they sort of challenge themselves of, all right, let's see what we're made of. And they go out and they win 4-1. And what's the significance of that? Can one win have that much of a boost? And we see the next night they go out and score a run there. And it's like, okay, well, maybe it didn't have that much of a significance by them winning because the offense did not carry over. And then, of course, watching the game yesterday until the eighth inning, when something sort of happened and the floodgates broke open. Not just the, hey, they hit 3 home runs. It's 7 straight guys reach base. I mean, whether it's a hit, double, triple, walk, 7 straight guys reaching base. And that's a little more significant than a couple of guys getting into one and scoring some runs quickly, which is great. But the Royals are not a team that's going to hit a bunch of home runs. So certainly that is something to take away from last night's game. But I kind of feel like a little bit of the same conversation we had on Tuesday of the significance of that win because they finally broke the scoreless streak on Monday. But they won 4-1. It was a nice, solid win. All right, let's just get back to winning. Yesterday just felt like it was barreling towards the feeling of like, all right, the season's over. Like, I mean, I just had a feeling yesterday if they don't get a win, it was going to be a lot of people turning the page, jumping off the bandwagon and going, yep, we'll see you July 16th when the quarterbacks and rookies report to camp. Because if you can't score a run against a Miami Marlins team with a bad bullpen and a AAA player that's brought up making his debut that has a 5.5 ERA at AAA, then best of luck to you against the Guardians. You've lost 5 games in the standings against the Red Sox in the last 10 games alone, and you're heading in the wrong direction and you can't beat the Marlins, and the trade deadline is still a month away. We'll see. Good luck. That was the feeling yesterday that I had. Sterling, was it close to that for you? And what is the significance, do you think, with the old adage of, momentum's only good as your next day's starting pitcher in baseball? And maybe we saw that on Tuesday with how the Royals offense came out. But I think there's something bigger that happened in that 8th inning. Let me just say, I also hope that there's something bigger that may have happened in that 8th inning for the Royals to bust open, to get the 5 runs, and to win that game.
Yeah, it was anger for the first 8 innings. It was anger, and then it was the coping mechanisms where I went through the 5 stages of grief because eventually I accepted it. I accepted that the Royals season was over and at least the Chiefs are damn good. That was kind of where I was at come the 8th inning until 2 outs. Bobby Witt Jr. got a pitch over the middle, which quite frankly didn't matter all game long, pretty much the past week or so. Pitches in the middle of the plate, the Royals have done absolutely nothing with, but he took that to right field, right center. Nice triple there. But then I do think there's something more. There's something more to the singles, the doubles, the triples than just the home runs. Like, I think of it this way. Nelson Velasquez, when he hit a home run, we were all saying, is he back? Is he back? And then, no, he just got one. MJ Melendez, I don't think it was the home runs that really got him back. It was the singles that were sitting here going, okay, now he's seeing the ball better. Guys with strength will occasionally run into one. That's what they're going to do. I want to see the consistency. So seeing guys like Nick Lofton stand in there, get a hit. Salvador Perez, who's been struggling in his own right, get in there and get a hit. Hunter Renfroe had a nice 2-for-3 game for me, and really should have been 1 for 4, I guess, right? Because the Sun assisted double that the second baseman just couldn't find. He dropped. But
yeah.
To me, it's those singles and the doubles. Those, to me, can signal a player is coming back. And you're right. Les talked about how sometimes you'll hit a home run and you think a guy's back. And it's like, no, he just got one. He just ran into one. Doesn't mean that he's all of a sudden broken out of a slump. But I hope that the Royals' offense, in totality, this is what they needed. 7 straight guys. Mm-hmm. I've talked about the streakiness of this offense all season long. Hopefully this is a starter, a catalyst of the offense starting to streak and start to string something together going forward. I'd love to talk about Brady Singer more with you whenever you're ready to get to that conversation. Yeah. But the offense here, this is what I think constitutes more of a breakout rather than 6 hits. They score 4 runs with 3 homers, but still only 6 hits.
So it's interesting in that 8th inning because I had the same takeaway as you did, that, okay, this feels more like how the Royals were playing when they were scoring runs and they were, top 3, top 4 at one point, like a month and a half in the season. They were like second in the American League in runs per game. And it's like, this offense feels like it's not all that good. Well, look at the rest of the league. And, comparing it to that, maybe it's not good comparing it to, the late 90s and the steroid era, but it's good in today's and this year's baseball. And that was how they were doing it. And it was clutch 2-out hits, right? It was runners in scoring position. And there was certainly a degree of, if there's something happening right now that is not sustainable, then it would be the team batting like 400 with runners in scoring position. The team with so many 2-out RBIs that they were coming through with and winning games. And it's like, okay, that's not something you can count on. You can't count on your batting average being 200 points higher as a team with runners in scoring position than it is just in general. That's not sustainable. And we saw this swoon that happened here in June when they weren't getting those hits and the offense was really struggling. And so, I don't know, is it streaky from that standpoint? Because, boy, they got a lot of 2-out hits yesterday and they strung it together. And if Bobby just hit 1 home run and it's 1-1 and they win in like the 11th inning with, the ghost runner on second, they get a single, the guy scores, you win 2-1. You're like, okay, thank goodness they won. You get ready for the Guardians. But I hope there's something more to the 7 guys reaching in the 8th inning, stringing those things together. Almost everybody in the lineup having a say, having a hand in that, except for Garcia and Michael Massey. And, Massey making the first and third out of an inning, which is tough to do, but it also means that they batted around for the
thing, man. It's like the worst feeling. A guy leads off in softball, gets an out, and he comes back. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna make the final out. This is gonna suck."
Right? Yeah. and they batted around for the first time in a long time. They had a 5-run inning for the first time in a month. I mean, it's been a month of baseball since they've scored at least 5 runs in an inning. Remember when we were charting how many 7-run innings they had? It's like, this team has like 5. The entire American League has 8 7-run innings, and the Royals have 3 of them. It's like the rest of the league has 4, and the Royals have 3 by themselves in these 7-run innings, and how many times they batted around. That's what we were talking about. That's how they were doing it. It wasn't they got a couple of guys on in a 3-run home run. The Earl Weaver, stop stealing bases, okay? I don't want guys getting thrown out of the base. Get on base, hit a 3-run home run. That's how we're going to win. No, the Royals, how we're going to win is the old adage of keep the line moving, find a way to get on base, string those things together, doubles, singles, gappers, hit a home run from time to time as well, but that's what they were doing. And batting around, we were tracking that for a reason, and I think that's the significance of what could have happened in the 8th inning. Now we'll see with, Blake Lively or Ben Lively. Whichever Lively goes to the mound tonight, I hope it's Blake Lively on the mound.
I do too.
I think it's more than likely going to be Ben. So we'll see. My money is on Ben. I think it's like minus 250 that it'll be Ben Lively on the mound instead of Blake Lively. I think it's an easy bet, but we'll see who goes to the mound. And the guy's got a barely over 3 ERA, 3.03 ERA. He's been good. He doesn't go deep into games. But with the Guardians bullpen, he doesn't have to.
Former Royals legend, by the way, Ben Lively.
Blake Lively?
Ben Lively. But we'll take Blake.
Yeah. You know what? She's a part of the KC community now.
Yeah.
With her time in watching the Chiefs, with being friends with Tay-Tay. So, he's not a guy that's going to go deep into the games. He's going to go 5 innings probably and then hand it over to the bullpen. Can you get to him earlier and do what we've talked about with other series where the Royals have got to a bullpen early in the beginning of a series, and hey, maybe that sets you up for later on, that Padres series when they did what they did in the 9th and they had to bring on Suarez, and then because of what happened in the 9th, they went and brought in Suarez on Saturday even though it was a 4-run lead, and then on Sunday they didn't have Suarez, so the Royals end up getting to a backup closer and they win that game. Like, okay, that built on itself. Can that happen? We'll see. We'll find out. But it has to be at bats, and it has to be stringing those things together. I thought there was something interesting about Bobby Witt's at bat. and it comes to the almost results-oriented opinion, because there's 2 outs, there's nobody on, Massey had just struck out, Garcia grounded out, and Bobby Witt comes up there, and you know what Bobby Witt did, Sterling?
Be a
He swung at the
badass.
first pitch. He swung at the first pitch. If he pops up on the first pitch, what are we saying? Good God, man. Why is everybody so antsy? Like, chill, dude. You're swinging out of your shoes, man. And instead, 98, he takes it to right center on the first pitch. He could have got up there and said, "Man, I gotta find a way to get on base. I gotta do whatever it takes to get on base." But instead, he went up there with the same approach of, if I get something to hit, I'm hitting it. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's something that's going to be left over the middle, I'm going to drive it. And he drove it into right center. And then Vinny Pasquantino swung at the second pitch. It was a 1-0 pitch. Like, he wasn't sitting there going, I'm going to sit here until he throws me a strike. And if he doesn't throw me a strike, I'll take a walk. But if until he throws me a strike, I'm not going to sit here and swing. Well, I mean, second pitch, boom, lines it right up the middle after Bobby Witt's triple. Salvi was the third pitch. I mean, Michael Massey and Michael Garcia saw a total of 10 pitches in their at-bats. 6 pitches later, the Royals had the lead. It happened that fast. So I think there's a little results-oriented thing there that if they swing early in the count and they don't get the job done, then it's like, why are you being antsy? And we've talked about it with Bobby earlier this year, and I do tend to agree in that particular situation because of that specific pitch.
Yes.
This was 98 that was left over the middle.
This
right?
was right down the middle. If he doesn't swing at this, you're sitting here going, well, that's the best pitch you're going to see the entire at-bat.
Exactly. You just watched the best pitch go by. What are you doing? And I implore people, if you have some time, because you'll find it hilarious, just go back, watch the 8th inning, and only watch the action pitches. If you just watch, like sometimes, the MLB app will cut down the games to 10 minutes or so. Now, it's not like the NFL where you see every single play. There's some they'll skip through games. It's not just every single action pitch. But if you just watch the action pitches in the 8th inning and just watch Nick Fortes, the catcher, it is frickin' hilarious. So Bobby's at bat. Fortes sets up low and has his glove low, and Brazoban leaves it right over the middle. And then so his glove is reaching up, and Bobby hits it, and you could see like Fortes is a little annoyed at it, right? And Bobby's at third. The second pitch to Vinny is maybe the most hilarious one. Just watch Vinny's. You could just see the replay and the highlight of Vinny's swing. The second pitch to Vinny, Fortes wanted it up, like he was almost standing up, like high. Okay, we just threw a changeup down, high. It's right over the middle. And he just shrinks and his head drops and like, dude. And, Vinny laces it into center field. Salvi, the third pitch, Fortes was, because they had just went outside on a slider, right? They went low and away on the slider after they had the pitching mound visit. And it's like, hey, it looked like we're just going to throw these pitches away. And if he swings and gets himself out, then that's great. We're up 0-1 in the count because he let Dairon Blanco steal. So let's throw sliders away, everything away, and then let Salvi just swing through it. And if he doesn't, well, then you know what? We'll take our chances with Nick Lofton on deck. We'll do that, and we'll get him out, and we'll go in to the top of the 9th inning and see if we can get a run. But the third pitch for Salvi, after they went low and away, because in Salvi's mind, in everybody's mind, it's low and away, low and away, low and away, low and away. They're just going to work you low and away. So Salvi's going to be leaning out over the plate. So they set up, and Fortes wanted it high and inside, like he was almost standing up. They wanted it right at Salvi's letters, but high and inside, right? The thing was right down the middle. And again, he just threw his hands up, like, "What are you doing, dude? Like, come on, man!" And then Nick Lofton was the only one the action pitch to where his glove was right there, and the ball was going to where his glove was. And then MJ Melendez. He sets up low and outside because MJ always looks like he's pulling off the ball. Setting up low and outside on a 3-2 pitch. That thing came low and inside, and MJ just turned on it, ripped it into right field, an annoyed Nick Fortes, and then Freddie Fermin single at 3-2 was maybe one of the more hilarious ones because his glove, like he's holding it down, like he's pointing his glove down. This is a different pitcher, by the way. They've already made the pitching change at this point. He's holding his glove like down in the bottom of the zone, like down. And as he goes into the stretch, he almost gets low, like shrinking to the ground to put his glove in the dirt. Right over the middle and high. And Freddie Fermin hits it into left field, and Fortes is just like, I'm done. I mean, what the bleep, man? Like, and to me, that's a part of something we don't really talk about, Sterling, is when a pitcher is missing his spots. We often talk about walking guys. Well, he's just walking guys. He doesn't have control. He's missing his spots. What Brazoban and Charguis, or whatever the guy's name is, Chargois, however you pronounce his name.
If he's French, it's got to be Chargois. It's like faux gras, but it's Chargois.
Well, if he was French, he was drafted last night, so we wouldn't be playing baseball.
Oh, good call. Good call.
Yeah. But, like, every one of their misses was in the strike zone. It was right over the middle. And you said it. The Royals made them pay. Because we've seen pitchers miss in the strike zone, and you went, oh, that was their pitch. That was their pitch. They missed it. They didn't miss him. They didn't miss him in the 8th inning. Does that say something? Is there some sort of a confidence boost? I don't know. But they didn't do that, while also it being hilarious just watching the catcher just be exasperated time and time again of like, dude, just I don't care if you throw it in the dirt. I wanted it low. How do you leave it up? Like, I was like pointing my glove to the ground like, please throw it low. And it's over the plate. And you know, credit to the Royals because they barreled him up and they hit it hard. And oddly enough, the only one that wasn't a hard hit was Nick Lofton's, which is exactly where the catcher wanted the ball. And Nick Lofton did a great job of muscling it out there into some open grass right over the shortstop third base.
Can I offer you a hilarious, I find kind of silly and stupid and dumb scenario that I think actually holds some merit? Because you're talking about MJ Melendez and the 3-2 count, and I keep going back, and I'm thinking about all the full counts he's gone to. I'm thinking about the grand slam he hit on pitch 12. I'm thinking about all of the typically, I mean, he also swings and misses a lot, so that makes the count go full, or at least 2 strikes on him a lot. He sees a lot of pitches, so I went and did a little dive here. He sees the most pitches on the Royals by a decent measure. Like, it's more. We think Vinny has a great eye, right? Mm-hmm. Vinny sees 3.98 pitches per plate appearance. MJ's 4.19. It's pretty drastic how far and how high his is compared to the next closest. So hear me out now. I know he's batting 179, 250. I get the fact that that's never going to look good when the season's over. But he's starting to heat up just a little bit here. Michael Garcia is struggling. Would you consider putting MJ back in the leadoff spot? I know this is dumb. I know I'm an idiot. I'm a buffoon. I somehow it's
outside the box.
There are already rocks hitting the 8-10 window right now. Shocking. They were already ready. They were ready for me to say something dumb.
Why are people doing that? It's
but
weird.
Yeah, come on, guys. Throw beers at least. Come on, I can drink those. But MJ Melendez sees the most pitches, which then would allow Bobby Witt Jr., hopefully, to get a good feel for what the pitcher is throwing, for what Vinny can see early on, what the guy is, what he has. Even if he's not getting on, Michael Garcia ain't getting on either way. MJ's not necessarily clogging the base paths. He doesn't get as many stolen bases, but you look at actually his sprint speed, it's pretty darn high. He takes walks. And he's in a little bit of I don't want to say a hot streak. Going 1 for 4 consistently isn't a heater, but it's better than Michael Garcia. Do you ride the slightly lukewarm hand of MJ Melendez and take into account the amount of pitches he sees versus the rest of the team? Is that going to outweigh the 179, 250 ugliness you see when he steps to the plate?
Well, I would say this. I don't mind the thought. I think first reaction people would go, that's dumb. That's absurd. You wouldn't do that. But you have to take into account the fact that Michael Garcia has just not been good for a while. I mean, the last 10 games, Michael Garcia's got on base 5 times. Not that he's got on base in 5 games of the 10. He's gotten on base a total of 5 times in the 10 games as either the 7th hitter, the 8th hitter, or predominantly the leadoff man. for Michael Garcia. So if you were to make a change and put MJ there, you're not taking out Kevin Youkilis from the leadoff spot and saying this is the Greek god of walks and he's going to be on base constantly. Like, you're not taking Ricky Henderson away from you're not taking out Jose Altuve so that you can put in MJ Melendez. You're taking out a guy who just frankly hasn't been good for a while in Michael Garcia. Unfortunately, that's just simply been the case. And you know what? You're putting in a guy that,
14 times on base in the past 10 games. For MJ.
Yeah, that's almost triple the amount of times. And in the last 18 games, since he started to turn it on a little bit, since that grand slam against Seattle and, the bat of the year that we talked about, he's getting on base at 325. He's slugging 480. He's OPSing at 803. Here's why I would lean against it, or I would say no for now. Just let him get comfortable again. Just let him be who he is right now. It looks like he's starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm. Leave him be and see if he can continue this. And if he does this for the next month or close to that, and Garcia continues to struggle and you're searching, then I may go that route. But right now he's been so bad for most of the season that over the last 18 games, he looks like a professional hitter for the most part. I'd leave him alone and just say, you keep doing you at your spot. We'll figure some other things out and hope Michael Garcia gets out of this. I don't think it's a terrible thought because people are talking about how do you get a leadoff spot? Who's your leadoff hitter? Should they move Bobby Witt up in the lineup to the number 1 hole because you need a leadoff hitter? Well, yeah, but then you need a number 2 hitter. Like, you're still just moving deck chairs on the Titanic. You're still trying to find somebody.
But if they found the balance, I will say, if on the Titanic they found the balance, maybe it doesn't sink. Okay. It's possible.
They needed to not find the iceberg. Hopefully the Royals didn't hit an iceberg in the last 3 weeks or so. Hopefully that wasn't the case. I don't mind the thought. I think it's thinking outside the box, and I think people would immediately say that that's absurd. But if we're looking at recent trends for Garcia and MJ Melendez, if you flipped the names around, you wouldn't have any question saying, well, should Garcia stay as the leadoff hitter? Yeah, look what he's doing over the last 18 games. He's, OPSing at 800. He's getting on base at 325, which is better than what he typically gets on base at. But I would leave him be for now. I just leave him alone and just let him continue doing this and see if this can be somebody that he is more consistent at and not be this high, low, riding the waves of 2 and 3 week stretches.
In fairness to everyone who had the initial pushback, I too thought myself an idiot when I came up with that situation. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the mental side of the game that sometimes we don't take into account as far as he's finally starting to get a little comfortable moving him to the leadoff spot. Now you're adjusting with maybe what he thinks he has to do, what he needs to do, and that probably isn't worth it. And by the way, Jason, this entire time, I have to tell you, I've missed you not being here. Like, it sucks because I don't know how to change the TV in here, and I've been watching The View every single morning. And it's just The View. It's The View. I've never watched The View in my life. It's Whoopi Goldberg and some other people. Busta Rhymes, for some reason, is on right now. Nice. I like Busta.
He's actually watching it the best way you can watch it, which is on mute. So that's
well done, Dylan.
That was good. But so I don't know how the TV works. So I have one channel of old football games I've been watching, which is great. They've had Chiefs games on. They had
now I'm jealous. Actually,
yeah, they had it's just NFL Network playing old games, which is great. So I got that, and then I have The View. So I don't know who turned The View on originally, whether that's the morning show and they just really enjoy this or what. But I don't know how to change the TV.
Probably left over from last night, right? Whatever the channel is. What channel is
ABC,
it on?
I think. It's just been perpetually on ABC on this channel since you've been gone. So
since you've been gone.
Maybe Game 7 of the. No, was that this? No,
I don't know.
I mean,
I think it was on ABC.
There was something on ABC recently.
I think it was Game 7 NHL.
Yeah, it was Game 7. Game 7 was on ABC.
Either way, my point is, Jason, I really miss you because I'm stuck watching The View, and it's not good.
I can fix it.
It's fine. Yeah, you typically hate the view that you have when I'm there in front of you, so this is just par for the course. By the way, I want to amend something here because I said the Grand Slam against Seattle. Seattle wasn't the Grand Slam. It was the Dodgers that was the Grand Slam. Seattle was 18 games ago, and if you go back that far to when he hit that home run, had 4 RBIs in that game, the Royals had the awesome comeback on that Friday night. They won 10-9. Since then, he's batting. He's getting on base at 322, and he's OPSing at 800. Since the game against the Dodgers when he hit the grand slam and had the at-bat of the year, that's 11 games. He's getting on base at 390, and he's OPSing 900 in his last 11 games. And batting 290. So the MJ Melendez over the last week and a half or so, compared to the MJ Melendez of the year, it's completely different, and he's seeing so many pitches per at bat. If he does this for another week or two, and I'm not saying he needs to get on base at 390, but close to that, close to what he's been over the last 20 games, which is getting on base at like 322, 325, then I would absolutely think about moving him if Garcia continues to struggle. Then I would think about that. But then you also say, can you get somebody at the one spot? And if MJ is doing this, then maybe you've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with Massey behind Salvi, and then MJ behind Massey. And if MJ's doing this, we'll see. But it's certainly a good sign because they need him. And they need all those guys in the lineup, and they need more of what they did last night in the 8th inning. Significant 4 games coming up against the Guardians because the Guardians are one of the best teams in baseball, and the Royals play like one of the best teams in baseball when they play at home at Kauffman. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Let's talk Brady Singer on the other side of the break. I also want to get into some Chiefs topics today. We'll talk about that. The NCAA put out a hilarious D1 Council amendment to some violations and investigations and ways of going about performing said investigations and what some of those penalty structures would be. Hilarious. Apparently they think everybody's dumb. So we'll talk about that as well. 913-912-4810. We'll take a timeout. We'll talk a little bit about Brady Singer, what happened last night, and how it happened, if there's some significance moving forward. We'll do that next. or leisure. 913-912-4810 is the text line. Brady Singer was really good last night, and one of the reasons why the Royals were able to enter the 8th inning only down by 1 run. Quite different scenario if we say down by 1 run if it's 9-8 as opposed to 1-0. But only trailing by a run yesterday, and in large part because, well, really, mainly, only, there was good defense behind them, but the play, the pitching, the outing from Brady Singer, it was pretty significant. Sterling, you had some points you wanted to make once we got to Brady Singer, so I'm curious as to what you saw last night and something to glean from that.
Yeah, I saw that. I needed
yesterday. I keep saying last night, by the way.
I needed an apology from everyone who made fun of me when I said I'd choose Brady Singer over Alec Marsh. I need an apology.
Didn't make fun of you. We just said we would prefer Alec Marsh. There was no making fun.
I don't know, man.
A little exaggeration. We Alec Marsh over Brady if we had to find somebody to start Game 4 for the Royals. But I don't think anybody was making fun of you.
I think I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I'm wrong a lot, so I am pumping my chest. I was right for one time in my life, baby. Put that on my grave. No, because,
right one time about Brady Singer?
Well, because what I'm seeing from Brady is what we saw in 2022, but not just what we saw in 22. I'll get to that in a moment. It's the fact that he's throwing his four-seam fastball now 13% of the time. He's actually using it. It's not just an occasional, hey, let's throw it 3 or 4 times a game. He's actually using the four-seam fastball. And that, to me, has played up his sinker, which in turn allows his slider, which is quite clearly his best pitch, to be even more useful. Not only that, he's somewhat incorporated a sweeper. Not often, very rarely, but over the past few games, he's starting to throw a sweeper, which I found very, very interesting. Just in general, with what Brady Singer has done is outperform the underlying numbers dramatically. But this is the exact same thing he did in 2022. And he had a great year in 2022, right? 3.23 ERA in 27 games. This year, 3.12 ERA in 16. And quite frankly, the underlying numbers are very, very similar. And what he's really done is he's getting some hard hit balls against him. That's fair. That's fine. But it's 85 percentile ground ball rate. He's getting a lot of hard hit balls on the ground, which to me is really elevated his game when you have an infield the way the Royals do, especially when C.J. Alexander is not at third base, at least what we've seen from him so far. The strikeout numbers are fine. They're not electric, but they're solid enough. He knows when he needs to get a strikeout versus when he can just try and let his pitches work for him. Because last night, I didn't think he had his best stuff, especially early on. Felt like he was going to miss early. And what did he do? He started to incorporate the four-seam fastball to try and get some more, almost allowed him to get away with some bad spots with a sinker or some bad spots with a slider. Just keeping guys on their toes more with the additional third pitch. I've been, frankly, enamored with Brady Singer and how he's been able to outperform the underlying numbers so dramatically. Because I think if you asked a random person who's watched every single game this year of Brady Singer, right, you've seen every single one of his starts, but you didn't know his ERA, where would you think it would be at? Because I think the majority of people would say it's probably low 4.
Yeah, that would be my guess if just on that criteria of not seeing the numbers game in, game out, of us tracking it going, hey, he's still got this. I would guess it'd be in the 4s.
It's a 3.12.
Yeah.
And for me, a guy in baseball who I love the numbers and analytics and all the underlying numbers and all the expected stuff, I get that. I'm a nerd in that regard. End of the day, he's putting up legitimately very damn good numbers. A 3.12 ERA. A 3.12, and we're still sitting here going, yeah, I don't know how comfortable I feel when Brady takes the bump. Like, this is insane. He's having a phenomenal year. Better than the great year he had in 2022. Like, I think at some point we need to start saying, Brady, tip your cap to him. He's finding ways to get it done. Yes, he got shelled against, was it the Dodgers? Was it the Dodgers or the Yankees?
Both.
No,
it was the Yankees. They didn't get shelled against the Dodgers.
Yeah, against the Yankees, right?
Yankees he got shelled against.
Like, everyone's going to have a bad start, especially against the Yankees. It happens. He's had such a good year, and I feel like it's really flying under the radar, and I almost wonder why that is.
So I don't disagree. And I think there's a difference of outperforming the underlying numbers with what we're seeing from Brady Singer this year versus the example that I can think of that was a pitcher that was outperforming what the numbers said he should have been performing as, and some of the analytics were like, this doesn't make sense. And it ended up not making sense was Brad Keller.
Yeah.
It was like, man, these numbers do not support him throwing this way. Like, there's got to be some sort of a crash landing coming. And that's ultimately what happened. I don't think that's the case with Brady Singer, that there's going to be some crash landing to where he can't find a job or he's pitching out of the bullpen, and going to different teams since the Royals moved on from him. Like, that's not the future for Brady Singer. So I think there's an element of he might be outperforming those, outpitching those, but I don't think it is a huge red flag, flashing red lights like, okay, the bottom is about to fall out here, so get what you can get from Brady Singer right now, especially if it's a guy that you're looking at as a fourth starter. The difference from now versus when we had the conversation going into that game against Cleveland for Brady Singer, not knowing what he would look like against Cleveland, but ended up going 3 innings against Cleveland and then 5 innings and giving up 6 earned runs against the Yankees. And that's when, I was like, oh, you still feel that good about Brady Singer? When we were talking about Singer and Marsh, especially when Marsh looked like he did against the Yankees. So I bring up that sort of line of demarcation when we had that because I do think there's something that has happened in these last 5 outings, including that outing against the Yankees, including the outing with Cleveland in which he only went 3 2/3 innings. It's exactly what you talked about. And we didn't discuss this before the show to talk about what we felt was the takeaway from Brady Singer. So I love that you landed on the usage of the four-seamer. And to me, I go back to the attempted usage of the changeup that I think it was a couple of years ago in which it was he spent the time working on the changeup in the offseason and Brady Singer's going to, do this, do that with the changeup. And he started the year and it was like, see, Brady Singer's throwing the changeup more. And then as the year progressed, he stopped using it. Just like wasn't using it at all, 3 or 4 times, turned right back into that 2-pitch pitcher. And it was like, well, he used it until he started losing confidence in it, and then he just threw it away. And then all of the offseason of this guy's going to, add this new pitch, well, not happening. And that was back in, I don't even remember what particular year that was. But the significance to me of the last 5 starts. So he starts off this year with the four-seamer, and it's like, hey, he's got this new four-seam fastball. He throws 15 against the Minnesota Twins. He throws 21 against the White Sox. He throws 13 against Houston, only 9 against the White Sox again, and then 15 against Toronto. So 4 of his first 5 starts, Sterling, he threw 13 or more four-seam fastballs. Only 1 of his next 6 starts did he throw double-digit fastballs. And that's where my concern came in because I'm like, dude, we've seen this before with Brady. He incorporates a new pitch, and then he slowly stops using it until it goes away, and we're like, hey, what happened to that third pitch? Oh, well, he just wasn't comfortable or whatever it might be. It's just not something that he's staying with. And that was concerning to me. Well, 3 of the 4 most used four-seam fastball outings for Brady Singer have come in his last 5 games. 18 against Cleveland, 28 against the Dodgers, and then 18 yesterday against Miami. And the previous high was 21, and the previous second high was 15. He's surpassed 15 3 times in his last 5 outings. So he's gone back to using it. He didn't shelve it. He went through a stretch to where he kind of did, and now he's using it again more. That tells me there's a lot more game planning that may go into it. It tells me there's a lot more like, I want to use this. Maybe I'm not feeling it on a certain day, but it doesn't mean it's gone and I've moved on from it the way that the changeup felt like so often in the years we were talking about, why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he developing a changeup? That to me is sort of that significance of why I think there's something to Brady Singer's last few outings against the Dodgers, the Rangers, and the Marlins, in which he's gone, 6 innings, 3 earned runs, 5 innings, only 1 earned run, and then goes into the 8th inning last night with only 1 earned run and 1 walk. I think there's something to that since that Yankees outing, and we'll need more data points moving forward. But that to me is at least a sign of progress in that the third pitch seems much more tied into his repertoire now rather than the changeup was sort of an outsider that he'd use it from time to time but wasn't comfortable and then just threw it away. And then he's a 2-pitch pitcher.
And I know we need to take a break because Dylan's going to stare daggers at me if I don't take one very soon, if we don't do it, Jason. But to your point, the 4-seamer's not a great pitch. It really isn't. People are batting .281, .469 slugging against his 4-seamer. Not great. But his sinker's not great either. They're batting .275 and slugging .420 against his sinker. His slider is phenomenal, but you're not throwing a slider as a starter every single pitch. So how do you get by when you don't have a very good second pitch? His sinker, quite frankly, is not a very good second pitch. Get another average third pitch, and that way you keep them off balance, and that sets up the slider more. That, to me, has been the change, as if you just throw that sinker as your secondary pitch and only your secondary pitch, that .275, .420 slug is going way higher, right? The slider would go way higher because now you're just sitting on only 1 or 2 pitches. The 4-seamer, even though it's not a great 4-seam fastball, it at least keeps them honest. It keeps batters honest, off guard, and it keeps them guessing just a little. That, to me, has been the biggest change. Not the fact it's good, but the fact it keeps it in the batter's mind what could be coming right now.
We'll take a break on this. We talked to Les on Tuesday, and we gave the numbers from that great Jason Stark and Eno Saris piece at The Athletic, and what Mitch Haniger said about the new age pitching, and said all of these pitchers have multiple fastballs now. And he said, quote, multiple fastballs is hard because you can't put the same swing on each fastball. And so often you won't know you had the wrong swing on it until it's too late. Brady Singer had 1 fastball. It was the 2-seamer. He threw the slider, and he was trying to incorporate the changeup by the previous regime's pitching coaches and development. This regime comes in and goes, ditch the changeup. Why don't you throw a 4-seamer? And we gave the number that since 2021, the number of pitchers with now 2 primary fastballs has jumped 20% in Major League Baseball. He's a part of that. He's a part of that jump. He now has 2 fastballs. And as you said, those 2 combined may not be great pitches, but those 2 combined with the slider makes him a more effective pitcher than just being a sinker slider guy and knowing sort of an idea of what's coming to a degree. And if he doesn't have his great stuff, well, then I feel like I can get after this guy today. But as Mitch Haniger said, with 2 different fastballs, you don't know which swing you're putting on whichever fastball is coming. And that has been the new hot craze in baseball. And the Royals are a part of that. They're not behind the 8 ball. They are joining said 8 ball, whereas the previous regime was like, you should throw a changeup in there. Why incorporate another fastball? Let's do a changeup there. And the Royals are like, let's throw a 4-seam, man. throw another type of fastball. You're probably more comfortable with that. Good. Let's move forward. We'll take a timeout. More Zone next. right, wrapping up this hour, we will change the subject. We'll talk some football, some Chiefs football, NFL football with Kent Swanson from KC Sports Network. We'll hang out with him coming up later on in the show at 1 o'clock. We got some sports or leisure. We'll have some NBA draft questions, some general NBA draft questions, but also draft questions about the 3 local schools as well. So we'll throw those in there. And we'll get into some other things as far as the Royals are concerned with the 4-game set against the Guardians starting tonight. Day 2 of the NBA draft. I was going to say game 2 of the NBA draft, but day 2 of the NBA draft tonight, the second round. And boy, all anybody can talk about is where's Bronny going to go? It's now Bronny night. It's Bronny night. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Come on in. Come on in, everybody. It's Bronny night. Just take a seat. Relax. It'll be fun. Swanson, KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com, and, of course, the KC Laboratory Podcast. Kent, welcome into the show, brother. How are you, sir?
I am doing fantastic. I hope you guys are all doing well as well.
You know, I'm doing just fine. I'm investing in some some kids to adopt from France, just so I can have some NBA children later on in life. So that's what I'm looking into right now. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm just trying to. It's future investment is what it is, and maybe make a difference in people's lives. That's all.
I'm hoping the 2031 draft class is weak enough to give you some more bites at the apple and a chance to get one of those kids. So,
yeah,
give yourself a shot there.
Ken Swanson is our guest. All right, Chiefs heading to camp in less than 3 weeks. Okay, so less than 3 weeks, Chiefs heading to camp. And as we sort of start the conversation, I'm just curious from your standpoint, what are maybe the storylines or maybe better questions that you may have right now that we can look at over the next couple of weeks as they get started at training camp on July 16th. But are there any pressing questions about Chiefs heading into training camp that you have right now, just 2.5 weeks out?
Yeah, I think there's a couple. I'm kind of curious to see what the cornerback rotation kind of looks like, right? They've got 3 really sound players that are about to be in year 3 of their NFL careers: Trent McDuffie, Joshua Williams, and Jalen Watson. But they've kind of Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams have kind of both been in, I don't know what you want to call it, a limited role, right? They haven't been full-time starters. They've split snap counts, but both of those guys kind of got to be leaned on now. And there's some unknowns there with Najee Johnson's return, Nick Jones, his involvement in the cornerback competition. You got Kamal Hadden, the rookie. So I think that's one of the big ones for me. I think the first one and the one I'm paying the most attention to is just kind of how that secondary shakes out, how it looks, and who's performing well there.
It's interesting because I don't know if we've talked since Justin Reed had his commentary about Najee Johnson in saying that he was in line to start and what the takeaway from that was. Was he legitimately in line to start? What does starting mean? Is it a guy that's just getting rotational snaps at the other cornerback opposite L'Jarius Sneed with Watson and Williams? Was it early on in camp that he was getting those number 1 reps because, as we heard, Dave Merritt last offseason wasn't exactly enamored with what he thought the development was of Jalen Williams or Jalen Watson and Joshua Williams? Najee Johnson I've become way more intrigued by with Justin Reed saying that, because I don't know that there was enough real time in training camp to gain an assessment of, Najee Johnson looks really, really good because of how early in training camp he ended up getting injured. But to hear from the coaches and Justin Reed, that gets me a little more excited about just somebody else in the mix that I hadn't really talked about throughout the season or most of the offseason as well, until Justin Reed is saying, look, man, he's getting some 1 reps at OTAs, and he was in line to start last year before he tore his ACL.
Yeah, and, I think one thing that's kind of interesting is Najee Johnson has the kind of athletic profile that correlates to success. Craig Stout, he's done a lot of work over the last 5 years kind of analyzing cornerback athletic testing. He created a model that kind of looks at, athletic testing as it relates to that position, and there's a high probability of contribution when you have an athletic profile. And Najee Johnson was a safety in college, but, the Chiefs have moved him to an outside corner. That athletic profile does perform very well historically, at the cornerback position. So when you look at the athletic traits that he had, now this was before the injury, and you consider that, you consider some of the physicality he played with, tackling ability, that's the kind of profile that typically performs well and contributes. So, I think he had the tools to do it, and maybe that was what was starting to shine really brightly for him when he was getting consideration during OTAs last year and getting some really strong looks last year. So, if he's the same kind of athlete he was before the injury, I'm not going to be surprised to see him, getting some run. And, I think one thing to pay attention to is, the Chiefs don't have, they have some experience, don't get me wrong, but that's still a very young cornerback room. There's really not a veteran outside of their, third year players, so they must feel comfortable about where they sit currently with a very, very young cornerback room.
It's interesting, the Nazeeh Johnson athletic profile. This is not to say that it's going to be the same thing, or if they are just trying to go back to the well and strike, catch lightning in a bottle or something. But the athletic profile of a guy who played safety that they look at and go, well, actually, he's going to be a cornerback for us. They did that with L'Jarius Sneed. And I'm not comparing the two or saying Nazeeh Johnson is going to be that guy. But what I think it indicates is that almost immaterial the position a player played, where it drives home the point a little bit more about the Chiefs finding and drafting traits and certain skill level or athletic traits and length and size that meet certain markers for them to play cornerback, put them in the system, and then we'll coach to that. And it doesn't matter if this guy was a safety. It doesn't matter if L'Jarius Sneed played safety the last year and a half that he was in college. We're drafting to the traits, and we're going to teach this guy how to play cornerback because we can't teach the other things that we're getting when we draft him.
Yeah, they definitely do, I think, take that into consideration with several of the guys. But what I do think is kind of funny, too, is it's not a blanket approach, right? And that's what's so impressive, I think, with what they've done at the cornerback position is, and we'll see what happens with a Nick Jones and a Kamal Hayden, but it's not like they're only seeking that athletic profile. They still will go out and maybe take a little bit lesser athletic profile, and give them a look too. I think Dave Merritt's just really good at his job, is what I think it kind of comes down to. So, they found, I think their biggest hits have typically been on the athletic, high on the athletic profile side. So I think that's something that's worth paying attention to. But I think just Dave Merritt's found ways to really develop a lot of different types of players, and I think if Nazeeh Johnson winds up being a success story, I think you point to that from the athleticism perspective again.
Visiting with Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Anything that you would have liked to see them accomplish that they haven't yet, that you would have liked to see them accomplish, or maybe see them accomplish in these, next, it would be 19 days before they report to camp?
Yeah, I think I would have liked to see them maybe add something, on the defensive line. I think that's probably the place I'd pay the most attention to right now, outside of cornerback. I think there's cornerback kind of looks like they've got a lot of lottery tickets and a lot of guys that I think you eventually will find 4 or 5, which is why I think they feel comfortable with the types of bodies that they have there. Defensive end, I think you can make a case that, first off, you can never have too many defensive ends. I would like to see them add a little bit more. I see an Emmanuel Ogba's out there still, right? I wouldn't hate to see this team go and grab another defensive end just to add another capable body that can rush the passer. There's unknowns with Charles Omenihu and his availability early. And outside of that, it's George Karlaftis, Mike Dana, and then an unproven Felix Anibike-Uzomah. I know Malik Herring, took a lot of snaps last year, but from a rush perspective, a pass rush perspective, there's just not a ton of juice there. Great contributor, but I'd like to see this team try to add a little bit more pass rush to that group.
Yeah, they've got, and hopefully FAU takes a step forward. Karlaftis has been pretty good. I don't know what the status will be of B.J. Thompson, but he's still a guy that, is going to be developmental and not somebody to really rely on. And Omenihu's an interesting one because, I've certainly expected him to start on the PUP list, and I don't know that he's going to be ready to go week number 1 against the Ravens, but he keeps putting out videos that shows that, he believes he might be able to do that. But I'll also say he believed he was going to be playing in the Super Bowl right after that Ravens game, and saying that I'm definitely playing in that thing. Do I look like a guy that's not going to play in the Super Bowl? And immediately when he said that, he did not look like a guy that was going to miss the Super Bowl. But he didn't have a choice with that unfortunate injury that took place. And yeah, it's interesting in the D-line because they moved on from Isaiah Buggs, thankfully, and I don't think he was really going to be a part of the team or maybe even making the team. But I really I loved the draft pick of Keandre Coburn, and it was a sixth rounder, so it wasn't like they took a first round defensive tackle and it hasn't worked out, right? I mean, they're not sitting there with Ryan Sims on their hands and saying what's going on here. We thought he helped the defensive end for the North Carolina. That was the top pick that came out with Ryan Sims. Damn it. That stud defensive end. I'll think of it. Doesn't matter. Somebody will text in as well.
Before you said
Morgan,
Ryan
something
Sims.
Morgan?
Oh, before you said Ryan Sims, I was going to say
No,
Lawrence Taylor, but nope.
No. Ryan Sims at North Carolina. He played with the number one pick in the draft, defensive end that year at North Carolina. And they were teammates. And the Chiefs said that he was the reason why, because Ryan Sims was taking the double teams from. It doesn't matter. We're wasting time with something that doesn't even matter. That it was just sort of anecdotal with this entire story.
Was it Julius Peppers?
It was Julius Peppers. Thank you so much. Julius Peppers is the answer. That the Chiefs said that Ryan Sims was getting double teamed as to why Julius Peppers was able to be so good. And it was absurd that they said that. And obviously Keandre Coburn is not that guy, and he was a sixth rounder. But I really thought he was going to be pretty good, and it was a great draft pick. And they moved on from him, and, he's bounced around a little bit, and that hasn't, worked out. And they, certainly could use a younger defensive tackle. But it is interesting. I don't know that there's a lot of eggs in the FAU basket, or if there's a lot of eggs in the Charles Omenihu basket as to why, it's Dana that they brought back, and they haven't signed. Am I missing somebody that they signed outside of the Chiefs on defense, a free agent, besides re-signing their own? Have they brought any free agent in defensively that wasn't with the organization last year?
Outside of swings at like more 90-man type players, I don't think so. I think it's been draft picks, undrafted free agents, and then
re-signing.
Kelvin Joseph and Keith Taylor, who are more 90-man swings, right?
Exactly.
So not really.
Yeah, so I mean, it's sort of interesting. It's like, they look at defensive end, they re-sign Mike Dana, and then after that, it's how much do we believe in Charles Omenihu? How much do you believe in FAU? Because there's a lot on the shoulders of those guys to be able to play early. If you're not going to go out and invest in, you mentioned old friend alert, Emmanuel Ogbah. Is that? I mean, I've talked about if they're going to kick the tires on David Bakhtiari, but Emmanuel Ogbah certainly is intriguing to see, him come in to, add some depth to that defensive end rotation. And there's nothing wrong with having even more guys. And if he's, a Melvin Ingram type player that, plays every once in a while, or is just a pass rush specialist or whatever you get from him, then heck yeah, then bring him in and see what you have, instead of feeling like, FAU has to make a major step forward, and hopefully he does, or Charles Omenihu has to recover from that ACL. And I don't know that I want to rely on Charles Omenihu recovering in first year post ACL injury.
Right, and if Charles Omenihu starts on the pup, right, which we kind of anticipate, you're looking at, and I think I did a projection on the 53-man roster on KCSN Substack. I think right at the start of June, and it was. Let's assume Charles Omenihu starts on the pup. You've got Mike Dana, George Karlaftis, Felix Anudike-Uzomah, Malik Herring, and then Truman Jones is your fifth defensive end. And I like Truman Jones coming out. I think I had around a fifth or a sixth round grade on a Truman Jones when he was coming out. But that's not somebody that you are trying to hold on to try to you make your team better with a 1-year vet over Truman Jones right now, I think. Now, I think OTAs and mini camp are always good mile markers to kind of see, okay, maybe this team feels pretty good about where they stand with some of these positions, which is why you haven't seen them make any additions. Or there's the other side of it too, is some of these veterans that might be out there, like an Emmanuel Ogbah, he might be waiting for that opportunity that hits in the eye. Carlos Dunlap wasn't a guy that was, he didn't sign with the Chiefs until training camp. Rasheem Green's still out there. He might be a player that, is worth taking a look at as well, another defensive end. So he's actually the guy I wanted the Chiefs to take over Breland Speaks when they did it. But I think, the start of training camp's a good mile marker too for, where this team stands with players and, where it stands with, some of these, question marks. And the good thing is there's really not very many, but, they've given these young players a chance to develop and get a lot of reps over the summer. And now let's kind of just see if they make any additions. And if they do, it could be, especially defensive end, it's a many who's history, or they just don't feel comfortable with like a Malik Herring and a Truman Jones.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about that. Kent Swanson's our guest. You've got a piece up there at KC Sports Network, kcsn.substack.com, and it was one of the things that I wanted to bring up and talk to you about, in that you've got these different free agents, 5 free agents worth taking a flyer on for the Chiefs, and 2 of the 5 are edge players in Emmanuel Ogbah and Rasheem Green. And that stood out to me, and it goes right in line with what you're talking about on that defensive line and having some of those edge players, because I was going to ask, if they bring in a player before camp, what position do you want them to see? And that seems to be defensive end. But is there another area they could address to bring somebody in before camp to add some veteran leadership, or another guy in the mix to compete that wouldn't stunt the growth of other guys, or maybe indicate that they feel like they've got this hole and they've got issues at that particular position?
Just like at any position, I'm looking at Donovan Smith still. I mean, he's still out there, and that's a player that I wouldn't be surprised the Chiefs go out and grab. And I think it's good that they've given Wanye Morris and Kingsley Suamataia a chance to get a lot of reps this summer. It sounds like Wanye Morris has got some reps along the interior of the offensive line as well as tackle. So you're seeing that. But, there's really not a ton of tackle depth out there on that roster right now. And Donovan Smith, the veteran, you could see he could be one of those guys that's maybe just kind of waiting to see what kind of opportunities present themselves in case there's an injury early during camp. But, I could also see, the Chiefs, if they don't feel super comfortable with 2 unproven players that left, potentially protecting the best player on the planet, I don't know. It might be worth just bringing Donovan Smith back to kind of elevate the floor of that position. Maybe and there's a lot of factors there, because Donovan Smith's got to feel comfortable with being in a competition, right? Because that's probably still what it would look like. Somebody to help push that group and potentially start if the young guys aren't ready. But I think he's like a pretty obvious one. I think as far as a veteran to look at for this team.
Well, and I do wonder, the view from Donovan Smith's perspective. A year ago, the Chiefs signed him, and it was, hey, he's our starting left tackle. Donovan Smith's going to be starting left tackle. Jawan Taylor is on the right side. They came out of the draft, and that was pretty quick when they addressed that. And Donovan Smith is still not signed. David Bakhtiari is not signed. That's been a conversation the last week or so. That I do wonder, if you're Donovan Smith, are there teams that have reached out for him to be their starting left tackle? Is he still of the mindset that if I play this year, I need to play for a team that I'm going to be, if healthy, the starting left tackle? Or are teams simply saying, hey, maybe we'll bring you in at training camp if there's an injury or something like that? Or we'd love to bring you in to either compete or add depth to our offensive line, but you have to be prepared to not start. Because I think that would be the conversation that the Chiefs may have with Donovan Smith, and he may not be okay with that, to where they say, look, be prepared to not start. There might be some competition, but we're leaning towards these guys. We want them to be one of those guys to be the starting left tackle, and we want you to be a part of the team, but don't come in with the expectation that you're going to start, and we'll see what happens along the way, but we're not signing you to be our starting left tackle like we did last year.
I think Donovan Smith would be on a team right now if there was a team that wanted him to be their starting left tackle. I just think if there was a team that was ready to just plug him in, they would have wanted him there this summer, getting familiarity, which is why, if I'm Donovan Smith, I think I get the David Bakhtiari stuff because he's been an all-pro in the past, but man, injuries that's a terrifying proposition, is trying to trust a guy that hasn't been able to stay healthy for several years. I think Donovan Smith's the most consistent, reliable tackle available on the market. And so if you're Donovan Smith and you don't have a guarantee that you're going to be a starter anywhere, it might make sense for you to wait this out until the summer, and find out if a team runs into an injury where they need somebody, right? They need somebody on their roster, to come in and plug it in and play. So I think, honestly, from like a Emmanuel Ogba perspective too, like he might be the best defensive end on the market right now. And so both of those guys just kind of looking for the right opportunity, the right money late into the summer where a situation happens and it becomes a serious need for a team. Well, I think Donovan Smith, he's probably waiting out his options. And I think the Chiefs are trying to give these young guys every opportunity early on until it's kind of, crap or get off the pot moment, right? And you got to make a decision there. So I'm sure there's probably good communication between Donovan Smith and the Chiefs if this is something that could happen. And, if they have to pull the trigger, they have to pull the trigger.
Ken Swanson's our guest, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Any concern for you with the depth at running back right now where it's Pacheco, it's Edwards-Helaire, and there's just such an unknown after that where it's sort of felt like there have been at least three guys that you felt comfortable about heading into training camp with the Chiefs for a while now, where this is, I have no idea who's even going to be the third running back. Any concern with the depth there at running back for this Chiefs team?
Yeah, as concerned as you can be about the running back spot, right? This team has won a lot of football games without great running backs, and without a great running back room. And, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Isaiah Pacheco are two, staples there. I know there's some, buzz about a Keontae Ingram a little bit out there. They brought in two really good undrafted free agents with Carson Steele and Amani Bailey. And then, the generic Prince guys there still too, right? So there's definitely a lot of unproven to that room. And but if you look at, who's actually available to try to help make that room better, there's not a ton of targets. There's not a ton of options. I was doing when I was doing some research for that article I wrote about some of the free agents the Chiefs could sign to make this team better. And it's marginal improvement at this point. Don't get me wrong. This team's in a really good spot, but there's really just not a ton out there. There's really not a ton of players out there that would make sense for the Chiefs at the running back spot. So, I think they obviously, feel some level of comfort with what they have because they haven't made any moves to, add to that room. I'm sure they, I could see them sniffing around the trade market during the season, or during the preseason, during training camp. I could see them maybe, taking a look, but there are some interesting players there, just not proven commodities. And I'm a little concerned, but it's still the running back position, not trying to completely devalue it, but it's just, they've won a lot of football games while scheming there.
Yeah. And that's, one of the things that I noticed too of the five free agent flyers is there wasn't a running back there. And I think it also speaks to, even with some of the lists that are out there about the best rosters right now in the NFL, that the Chiefs are up near the top, whether that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Typically haven't seen them at number one, but weighted with quarterback, they may be up there. But I think it's evident, and it comes through in our conversations when we're talking about who the third running back is going to be. Do they need to bring in a swing left tackle veteran and need to add a situational, rotational defensive end to this team? It's evidence of what they've done this offseason to be able to put themselves in a position right now. Kent Swanson is our guest. Kent, are you planning on being a part of the Hallmark movie in any way, shape, or form? What's your plan when filming is taking place here in Kansas City for 6 months from now when we get this Hallmark movie and the Chiefs combination coming out?
Look, if they need to cast someone as a mediocre Chiefs podcaster, I would love to participate. I did see the form and the form to apply, and I do have the rollerblading skills, I think, to at least contribute. So I might have to send them a video of me just doing some sick moves on my blades that I totally still have. But no, I there's part of me that wants to apply. I think it'd be funny to just try to see how many KC media people we can sneak into that Chiefs Hollywood movie or Hallmark movie. I think that'd be hilarious.
I mean, I applied for the family last night. I signed. Hey, it said they're looking for individuals and family units. And we got 2 kids, younger kids. We could be walking around and looking for Christmas stuff, Christmas trees. We can just be out and about at down at the plaza or something like that. There's a lot of different things we can be doing as a family unit. And yeah, that form was filled out last night. Just saying.
I didn't know there was a family form. I might have to do that because I got some cute kids, man. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, absolutely. They need some cute kids. I'm guessing. I don't know. Maybe it was family unit is like, you and your brothers and sister and something like that. I have no idea. Just said family units, and then sign up for the other people in your family that you're signing up for. And I figured with the names like Everett and Juliet, they would know that those are children because I don't know that there's not many 30-year-old Everetts right now walking around.
There's the mountain, Jason. There's
Mount Everett, yes, that's a very, very famous mount. Mount Everett.
Boys, where's the sheet? I need you guys to send this to me to email.
No.
I feel like I need
the more it gets out there, the less chance I have of getting selected.
Jason, I
feel
know.
like you got to find it on your own, buddy.
They need someone who's 30 years old to play an 18-year-old with great hair. Come on. I'm your man. I'm your guy.
Well, they're not looking for casting. They're looking for extras in the background. That's what they're looking for.
Oh, they'll see me, Jason. They'll say, we'll find a spot.
Right?
We're gonna create a spot for this man.
You're Ashton Kutcher. You're just walking around the beach, and you're gonna get discovered and start modeling, and then you get this great role in that '70s show. That's your future.
If you think I'm not going tarps off with the mustache strong, oh man, they're like, wow, who's this Top Gun knockoff? Boom, we want him.
What's your Top Gun call sign? Poser?
Miles Teller Poser. Yeah, it's Miles Teller Poser. Yeah.
Jason, how good did that one feel, Jason? That was very well done.
It was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. That was a good. I'm sorry, Sterling. I didn't mean it.
You did.
No, I didn't mean it. I think look. You're gonna be out in Tahoe in a couple of weeks. Miles Teller's going to be out in Tahoe.
Boom.
Maybe you can talk about Top Gun 3 together.
You got to get out there and get some B-roll footage you can show him too, so maybe he can.
Damn it! I have to keep my mustache now.
And your headshot.
Oh, you got to get the mustache for the for Tahoe.
Because if there's one thing that Hollywood people like, it's people running up to them, giving them their headshot, and telling them that they should be on television.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to give Miles Teller my screenplay. Oh, man, I just can't wait for him to see it and read it, man.
Can't you a mustache guy? Can't you a big mustache guy?
I wish. That's like one of my aspirations is to be able to be a mustache guy, but it is very blonde and very creepy. So I don't get to rock it very much. It's very
your mustache actually has a white van that it rides around in.
Jason on a heater. What's happening right now?
Weird. Dude, the College World Series is great for all of the awesome mustaches that they have, man. Baseball, facial hair, and hair of the last 5-10 years is on more of a heater than anything else.
Well, it's just the 80s. All that has happened as we've gone 40 years back to the 80s. Everyone who grew up in the 80s and went to college is like, yeah, it's short shorts, mullets, and mustaches. We're still listening to Kenny Loggins. Like, it's the same thing.
Dude, I love the Tennessee reliever that had the great curled mustache. He had the long hair, and he had his pants tight rolled at the bottom. Like tight rolled pants, baseball pants. Like you can already get them. You can get them, tight at the bottom if you want to. No, he went ahead and rolled those things up and tight rolled those things at the bottom. It was interesting, is what it was. But you know what? You're out there, throwing strikes and striking guys out. Look however you want. You're still going to be a badass on the mound. So that's just what I would say. Kent, we'll let you go, man. I know we kept you too long, and the conversation devolved from, actually talking about, some football to getting into the Hallmark movies and things like that, and quite literally trying to get into the Hallmark movie.
Look, that's what this half hour should be more often.
I agree.
It's just us, campaigning to get into Hallmark movies. I did send you both a picture of me in a mustache from April, so you can see that. I sent it to you on X.
Okay.
But we raised when we were doing our live draft. We raised money for for Therese Taylor's foundation, and we said if we hit 9K, we would shave down the mustache. So myself and Craig Stout did basically like went off air, came back with mustaches, and that is all I have there, fellas.
You're not giving yourself enough credit. That's not a bad mustache.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. That's pretty solid.
You look like you're in your first week at the police academy right there. That's what you're doing.
I don't like Jason being good at jokes right now. Does he have a ghost writer since I can't see him right now? Like, this is weird.
I'm just looking at the picture of Kent. Like, that guy is 4 months away from pulling somebody over for not coming to a complete stop at a stop sign. You are so close, dude. I love that look for you, man. It's awesome.
There's a dozen donuts just adjacent to me in that photo. I just cropped the dozen donuts.
Kill it, man. Kill it, man. I also looked at Hallmark was looking for extras to walk around Costco, so I think you've got that one covered.
Oh, nails.
I'm a lock there. That's not even a problem.
You won't even know they're doing the movie there, and you'll still be at Costco. Just it's a normal Tuesday for them.
That's right. That's exactly. Why is it so packed?
I'm a free extra. They don't even have to pay me.
Can I just get a discount? Oh, wait, I'm a Costco member. I'm already getting a discount. Haha, gotcha, director. Kent Swanson, KCSN.substack.com, the KC Laboratory Podcast. Kent, you're the man. Appreciate it, brother, as always.
Hey, good talking to you.
Absolutely. There's Kent Swanson. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. I do want to continue a conversation about the Chiefs. We talked about something there with Nazeeh Johnson, and remembering back as Kent was talking about of Nazeeh being a safety in college and the athletic profile, the athletic traits that are there. And one of the things that we can look at is we know the Chiefs have advantages in certain spots in this organization. Where are those advantages at? What's the biggest advantage? Because oftentimes you see opposing fans and not smart people that say, Patrick Mahomes isn't the best quarterback in the NFL. He's the best quarterback with Andy Reid. And you take away Andy Reid, you take away Patrick Mahomes. That's fine, whatever. But what are the advantages that the Chiefs have right now in this dynastic run and how they've won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, gone to 4 Super Bowls, 6 straight years of never trailing at the end of an AFC championship game in regulation? I want to get to that on the other side of the break. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. We'll play some sports or leisure coming up at 1 o'clock. Thank you to Kent Swanson. Or Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network, KCSN.substack.com, the KC Laboratory Podcast, and talking about different things going on with the Chiefs as we get closer to training camp. And he does have that piece up there at KC Sports Network about the 5 free agent flyers worth taking for the Chiefs and a couple of defensive ends on that list. No running back there, which I think speaks more to the fact about who's available on the open market right now as a running back. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. So as we went to break, one of the things that that we were talking about that I wanted to get into is how we view the advantages for the Chiefs right now in organizationally, franchise-wise, that org chart top to bottom as to how they're in this position to be this dynasty. And obviously the big three of players, big three being Mahomes, Kelsey, and Chris Jones. But you can also say the big three of Brett Veach, Andy Reid, and Patrick Mahomes. So where do we think, if we want to rank these, and I don't even know what categories we want to create to rank these. It can be open to interpretation for all of us. But what would you guys view as, Sterling, I know you have a problem if we start with number 1, as opposed to starting with 3 or 4, but not knowing really how many different categories we want to include. Is it okay if we start with number 1 first?
I guess.
Okay, great. You sound enthusiastic about it, so I'm going to take that as a
congratulations on somehow disenthusing me. Like, the most enthusiastic person I know is myself, and you somehow really disenthused me. I like going from the bottom up. Like, there's just something to it. You got to work your way to greatness. Don't mark that. What was there to mark, Dylan?
I'm not even looking at. I'm 8 hours. I'm an 8-hour drive away, and I'm looking at Dylan through the radio. And I didn't even know that was happening, but I knew that was happening. So anyway, Sterling, you might be the most enthusiastic person I've ever met, while also being such a really good sport when we have fun with your enthusiasm, which is great. I love that. Everybody's got to be a good sport because, look, the only way we show love is by making fun of each other. That's what men do, Dudes do that, dude. It's what men do. It's what dudes do. Dudes do it,
Guys
as
being
I've told
dudes.
My son, yeah, that's right. As I've told my son many a times, man, don't get mad with the coach trying to coach you and helping you out on some of the mistakes. Don't take offense to that. Take offense if they just simply stop trying and they just let you do whatever you're going to do because they feel like they can't help you anymore. That's the thing. Hey, don't take offense if I'm joking with you and razzing you. Take offense if I'm just like, oh, hey, cool, man, sweet. There's no joke that I really want to give. I just want to move on from this conversation. So there you go, Sterling. That's my way of saying, you whelm me.
Thank you.
Very well.
Thank
very
you.
Whelmed.
Thank you.
And one more, just as we dismount from that. Let's start with number 1. And Sterling, since you're enthusiastic about starting with the top first, what category? How would you break this down as to the biggest advantage if we look across the league? And it doesn't mean that the Chiefs have to be the number 1 best at this particular thing, but where do they have an advantage over other teams in what remains or creates staying power for this dynasty for the next couple 3 years?
So some of the categories I have in general, like just development. The coaching staff not named necessarily Andy Reid, right? So that would include Andy Heck, Doug Merritt. I have drafting. And then I have GM, which I think is going to be a little different because obviously GM Brett Veach is going to overlook a lot of these situations, right? But I think GM also includes some of the trades, some of the contracts being handed out. I kind of want to separate that from Brett Veach versus just development because I think development is more the coaching side. I think drafting at times can be a lot more of the scouts than just Brett Veach. So when I say GM and Brett Veach, I kind of want to break these categories up and use GM as more of the trade side and more of the contract side, if that's fair. So
absolutely.
So for my number 1, I'm actually going with Brett Veach for the contract side and for the trade side because I think we all were appalled, taken off guard, almost disgusted when we heard Tyreek Hill was being traded. And since he was traded, 2 Super Bowls have come to Kansas City. And why I think that's so valuable and so important was that's a move that I think 31 other GMs probably don't make. 27 GMs, I think, for sure don't make it. It's the rare few that have the stones and the confidence to trade away the best wide receiver or at least top 3 in the NFL and say, we're going to be fine without him. We will be okay without this guy. I don't think hardly any GM would do that, because that's almost a death sentence if all of a sudden that guy goes off, as we saw Tyreek Hill in Miami and what he's done, and all of a sudden the Chiefs offense and the Chiefs team as a whole all of a sudden sputtered and stopped and they lose in the playoffs. If that would have happened, you know how many calls for Brett Veach's head would have been there? How many calls for him to be gone? And how many, oh my gosh, if only the Chiefs had Tyreek. But it doesn't matter because of the guys he got back. And the fact is, it put them in a great cap situation, and they won 2 Super Bowls. So the absolute stones to make that happen, to have confidence in your conviction, that to me is huge. And also the majority of the contracts he has given out have been very, very good. Justin Reed, knowing when to move on from Tyrann Mathieu, trying to understand that, okay, we love Charvarius Ward. We can't pay Charvarius Ward because we have L'Jarius Sneed waiting in the wings. All right, we can't pay L'Jarius Sneed because we have Trent McDuffie right here waiting in the wings. Understanding that Mahomes can elevate wide receivers, but you cannot elevate the defense. So what has he done? He overhauled the defense over the past couple of seasons. What has he done with the offensive line when it was atrocious? He overhauled the offensive line. I mean, yes, I don't like the Jawan Taylor contract, but let's be real now. It's not like it's completely handicapped the Kansas City Chiefs team as a whole. They've still made a lot of very good moves. They kept the best 3 pieces, and not all teams can say that. They kept Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, and Mahomes, and kept all 3 very, very happy. That's a hard dance to pull off. That's a damn tango. So for me, I'm sitting here going, I think Brett Veach is the biggest advantage in the NFL right now. He's the biggest advantage because it's not just Harry Roseman. Harry Roseman is a great GM. At least in the offseason, because what have they done when it comes to actually winning the big one? They probably could have beat the Chiefs. Almost any other team, they probably would have won that one. But they didn't. It's Brett Veach. Biggest advantage is him.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I've got a different number 1, but I'm wondering when the next time Brett Veach will actually receive a first-place vote or a second-place or a third-place vote for Executive of the Year. Because nary a vote this last year for Brett Veach in Executive of the Year, while everybody fawns and throws themselves at the feet and bends the knee and kisses the ring of Howie Roseman. Brett Veach just over here taking a team to 4 Super Bowls in 5 years, winning 3 of them while continuing to construct a team around an expensive quarterback and trading Tyreek Hill and drafting said players to help that out. But that's not Executive of the Year because apparently it is all and only about Patrick Mahomes. Dylan, what's your number 1?
I'd probably go Brett Veach as well, just because of the obviously picking Patrick Mahomes or pounding the table for Patrick Mahomes helps as well with all the trades and things that he does off the field, as well as the scouting of cornerbacks. I feel like one of our biggest needs going into that draft that we got all those picks from Tyreek Hill was the secondary. And like Jimmy Johnson said, it's one thing to get the picks, it's what you do with the picks, because everyone talks about the Herschel Walker trade, but no one talks about the Eric Dickerson trade from the Rams to the Colts that the Rams just made terrible draft picks with. So I think that Brett Veach deserves the credit for finding the players and actually hitting on those picks. So I have him as 1 as well.
Okay, so I've got a different number 1, and maybe it ties in with some of the drafting, but my different number 1 is development / coaching. And nice. I tied them together because coaching, obviously, there's Andy Reid. He's the best coach in the NFL, certainly. But you can be the best coach in the NFL, which I think he still was. Bill Belichick was going to Super Bowls and winning Super Bowls when Andy Reid had Alex Smith, and nobody considered Andy Reid the best coach in the NFL because he had Alex Smith. But turns out he didn't learn how to coach just when he got Patrick Mahomes. Turns out he was a really, really good coach the whole time, but they couldn't make it past the divisional round without a Patrick Mahomes and throw in Brett Veach as the GM and building some things around him. So it's not necessarily just specifically Andy Reid. It's the coaching staff and the developing of some of the young players. I think they are so good at drafting for traits, at finding those coachable profiles in players and putting them in position to succeed. Steve Spagnuolo, we all agree on the level of respect that we have for Dave Merritt. Andy Heck is typically viewed as one of the better offensive line coaches in the NFL. I think they're severely lacking at wide receiver coach right now in experience, and we see that sort of come through. But what we've seen from defensive line coach and Joe Cullen and drafting guys and developing them, when you are that good at drafting for traits and getting the best out of players, it makes it more likely than not that you're going to hit on your draft picks. If you can't develop, like the Royals, one or a couple of these players that they've drafted that didn't succeed might have been good with a different organization, but they just simply ruined them in their development. I have no idea. We'll never know those things. I don't know if L'Jarius Sneed would be considered one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL if he was drafted by, the Vikings or the Browns or, somebody else. I don't know. Or the Panthers. No idea what he would look like in that uniform with those teams. But I know what he looked like as a fourth rounder, as a guy who went from cornerback to safety in college and then playing under Dave Merritt and with Steve Spagnuolo. I know what he turned into in them drafting for traits, coaching, developing, and then utilizing and deploying those traits out there on the field. So to me, I think that's the biggest advantage the Chiefs have. And I think maybe I weighted it because it's underrated around the league that people don't give enough, maybe not around the league, but like fans and things like that don't give enough attention to, because it's, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and that's the advantage. Yeah, I agree. It's a hell of an advantage to have Andy Reid and to have Patrick Mahomes. But I think when you throw in Spagnuolo and Dave Merritt and Joe Cullen and them revamping this defense, drafting and scouting is a part of it, and figuring out the salary cap and bringing, Chris Jones back and all of that stuff is a part of it. But this team is not winning the Super Bowl without the development of Sneed and McDuffie and Bolton and Gay and George Karlaftis and throw in Brian Cook, et cetera, on down the line. And I'm sorry if I'm forgetting somebody.
Travarius Ward.
Yeah, right. But I mean, winning a and Ward, they won a Super Bowl. So, getting a Super Bowl victory, getting three of them without the development of those guys. Obviously, Chris Jones is a big part of it, but, Chris Jones, was Chris Jones when Brett Veach took over. So, I mean, it was a matter of retaining, Chris Jones. But those guys developing and building and becoming the players that they are right now is, to me, the biggest advantage in the NFL.
Yeah, that was my number two, Jason. That's my number two. And it's not just the secondary they've developed. It's the offensive line. It's Andy Heck getting Nick Allegretti and Andrew Wiley. And it it's not always the big-name guys. It's not getting Joe Tooney to play at an all-pro level. It's getting getting Nick Allegretti to step up when guys go down.
Trey Smith in the 6th round.
Trey
and Creed
Smith
Humphrey to be one of, if not the best centers in the NFL when he was drafted as the third or fourth center in the draft that year. I mean, he wasn't a top 20 pick as like, this guy's a no-brainer center. I mean, he was the fourth center drafted.
And so that for me is development was number two. So
let's take a timeout. Let's get into number two and number three on the other side of the break, or at least in the noon hour. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and continue rolling more zone right after this.
All right, everyone. Again, Greenlight Dispensary is giving out deep discounts on some of their best products every Monday and Friday this June, and tomorrow is another June drop. So go online to Greenlight Dispensary and use their AI bud tender to help you select what you want, and then place your order for the drive-thru or the grab-and-go window. And once you're there, you can talk to an in-person bud tender that can answer any of your questions. Mention the June drops you heard here on 810 and see what they have for Friday's drop. So remind yourself tomorrow to go check them out, or check them out today at greenlightdispensary.com, because they have a bunch of different options, because not all cannabis is flower. They have oils, chocolates, gummies are my favorite, and even sodas. The possibilities are endless, and they're always trying out different options at Greenlight Dispensary. Mention A10 sent you as well for 20% off your first visit to any of the Casey area Greenlight locations. One's at State Line, the other's in Independence and Bannister, and one in Harrisonville as well. So if you're trying to save money tomorrow, do not forget that tomorrow is Friday's drop at Greenlight Dispensary, so go check them out and see what they have to offer. You can go sign up for Missouri's #1 loyalty program and find them online at greenlightdispensary.com. That's greenlightdispensary.com.
All right, we'll get into more of those advantages that we think the Chiefs may have or do have across the NFL. Also get into some NBA draft nuggets as well. Well, NBA draft even including the Nuggets, but every other team in the NBA. I don't know if I said NFL or not, but NBA draft. So night number 2, round number 2 coming tonight. The storylines of last night of the French players going 3 in the top 6, whatever the draft class looks like in 2031 seems to be of interest. I don't know. So we'll get into some of those. Also, something we joked about the draft trades, and last night there was just a funny coincidental timing that worked out perfectly in the whole trading thing and one of the graphics ESPN was using. We'll do that in the show as well.
delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We head up until 2 o'clock. 1 hour from now, we'll play some sports or leisure. The NBA draft continues tonight. So I want to give a big shout out to the wife because she just sent me some pictures and shut up of the kids. Okay,
I didn't say it. Who did you tell to shut up?
Everybody out there that needs to get their head out of the gutter and understand that this is my bride and the mother of my children.
So your wife sent you some pictures. What's wrong with that?
I know. So she sent me some pictures of the kids, and I got to give her a big shout out. So they are one of the reasons we came to visit her family this weekend or this week was because they also had this trip planned to the Great Wolf Lodge up in Cincinnati with all of the kids' cousins, right? And so they're all up there in Cincinnati. She sent me a couple of pictures. Any ideas to why I want to give a big shout out to my wife?
Did she go
embracing
to Skyline Chili, get chili, and then walk right outside and just turn it over upside down like a blizzard at Dairy Queen? Like just dropped it right on the sidewalk outside of Skyline Chili. That's my guess.
That would be epic. And God, I would love for that to be the case. That is not what happened. I'm going to see if she can do that maybe tomorrow before they head back from Cincinnati.
Please do.
Any other guesses?
That was my best one. So
Okay.
It's
Sterling, you got a guess? Remember, it's in Cincinnati.
I took a picture of the Bengals stadium and realized there's no flags that are flying.
I love that too.
That's a good one.
No, I didn't plan it out. She sends me a picture, little man walking around Cincinnati wearing Chiefs gear. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
I didn't set it out for him to wear today. That's her. That's wifey. That's
Don't call her wifey. I don't know, man. I think we're getting too old to do that. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. Either way, that's her. Because she sent me a picture and his cousin's wearing a Jamar Chase jersey, but he's wearing Chiefs gear. So
who?
Yeah. Nice. I like that. He actually is wearing a Mahomes. So, yes, it's great. So, you got Mahomes and Jamar Chase there walking around Cincinnati. So they're up there this way. And she sent me a picture of all the kids together. I'm like, yeah, that's my girl. Nice job. Nice job.
What do I wear in Branson this weekend, Jason?
That's a great question.
Like a Los
Chiefs
Angeles
gear?
Rams jersey, like a LA Rams, maybe. I don't know if it's that far east.
I think the correct answer was basically nothing, but
I mean,
we should have, Jason. It's kind of like Cards Against
Dylan.
Humanity. We should have known the audience. We were.
yeah.
Cards. That's great. You gotta know who you're throwing the
A
ball to. You
Rams
gotta know who you're
jersey?
pitching.
Why would I
Where's
rock
the
a
heat
Rams
map?
jersey?
Tarps off.
Where's the heat map?
Tarps off.
Tarps off.
The inseam's more than 5 inches. I ain't wearing it. That's all I'm saying.
Wear some Chiefs gear. You know, wear some Royals gear. I saw a tweet a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know who it was from, but it got some run around, people that I followed in my timeline, and it was something along the lines of, find something you love as much as people from Kansas City love wearing KC gear outside of the city.
Yep, I've seen that one.
Like, you're not wrong, but it's much more enjoyable
I feel
to do
attacked. Yeah, when I saw that, I
Yeah.
felt attacked.
I
by
love
that
it.
Tweet. Yeah.
When I lived in Philly, like 80% of my wardrobe was just making sure I wore Kansas City stuff.
Charlie Hustle. Stuff,
Charlie
yeah.
Hustle hat. The KC Royals. I went through all my hats.
And you know what? I don't want to take it from people that have been printing I Heart NY shirts for years. So that I will hear it from any other state, but
fine,
that
whatever.
one. I mean, that's they're just jealous.
yeah, but theirs were cheesy. The New York ones
Right.
are cheesy.
I'm saying that they're jealous that we found a cool one because we're
Yes.
the Heartland and the heart. Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It is. I make a point to do it even more now when we come here because this being Bengal territory, and I make a point to wear shirts that are Super Bowl shirts.
Yeah.
Not just a Chiefs shirt, but like, Lombardi trophies on it, or
Maybe get like a
Super
Joseph-
Bowl 54.
Like a Joseph Asai jersey, maybe, like custom Joseph Asai.
Yes,
Brother.
Yeah, damn, I need one of those.
That's
right.
That's what you need to get, little man.
No, I need a Chiefs jersey with Asai on the back
There
and
you
his
go.
number.
Even better.
That's
better.
what I need.
It should say a Bowl.
Yeah,
Sure.
and
Acai
have a
Bowl.
Super Bowl patch on it
Yeah.
to let people know, like, thank you for helping them get there. I believe me. I don't know that I felt attacked or as much as I felt seen when I come here, because I don't wear Royals as much because I don't think Reds fans are like, bleep you. No, it's Chiefs gear.
Can I be honest,
I'm out
though?
and about for 5 days. It's probably minimum 3, more likely 4 of the 5 days. There's some Chiefs gear that I'm wearing.
If I'm being honest, I really don't like Bengals fans. Like, they're like my least favorite fans, I think, that just in general. Maybe that's because it's Twitter. Like, in Twitter's not real life, and maybe in real life they're not as bad. I get that.
There's probably one account that makes you feel that way too.
There's
that
a few accounts.
lot of fan bases.
Few accounts.
hate.
Yeah. There's a few accounts.
You're right about that.
Yeah.
But I will say, I've been to Cincinnati a couple times, and every time I've actually had a really good time. I will grant them that. It's a decently fun city with some decently cool things, and going to Reds games are actually pretty darn fun.
No,
It's also been about 15 years, but since Ken Griffey Jr. played, and Adam Dunn.
Oh yeah. My in-law, my brother and sister-in-law, they're big Bengals fans, and they're great. We don't have the conversations that Twitter have. When we talk about the teams, they're great. And we have just general football conversations, and they seem to be just as I think most of the people that I am around in real life and not Twitter seem to be well-adjusted humans that can talk sports and not be on Twitter and just screaming and yelling about everything.
Plus, I can talk about my like of Ryan Friel. Yeah, everyone likes Ryan Friel. Yeah,
loved Ryan Friel, man. Loved Ryan Friel. That's absolutely right. There is like the one person that I've crossed paths with that I was just like, you know what? You're the worst, and you're the issue, right? You're the person that people talk about, and it was 2 Christmases ago. So it was after the Chiefs lost the AFC Championship game. It was the season they traded Tyreek Hill, and it was late in the year, and it was after the Chiefs had lost to the Bengals, because I think they lost to the Bengals in before Christmas that particular year, and so trying to set the scene of that. So no, they gosh, what was that? So 2022. Yeah, so they lost to the Bengals on December 4th. Okay. So we came to town, like a couple of weeks after that. And the Chiefs played that day, and they played like the Seahawks or the Texans, one of those teams, one of those games, right? And I'm like, okay, after the game is over, I'm going to get out and I got to run to the store for something. And get some, whatever supplies we needed, right? So I'm at Walmart or whatever, and I'm walking down one of the aisles, and I got my Chiefs shirt on, and a dude walks up wearing a Bengals, Bengals attire. Now, mind you, after the Chiefs game was over, I decided to get out of the house because the Bengals were playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they had that, big comeback. They were down early against the Bucs. So the Bengals were playing the Bucs. So I'm at Walmart walking around, and a dude in a Bengals, attire comes up, and he's like, Chiefs fan, huh? I'm like, yep. It's, as you can tell, and I'm like not wanting to engage in a conversation with him at all. Just want to go get my stuff and go. And he goes, how about that game a couple of weeks ago that the Chiefs lost to the Bengals? And I looked at my watch and I go, how about the Bengals playing right now? Like, you're at the store getting groceries while the Bengals are playing. Please shut up and move away from me. You can't say anything. Your team is playing on TV right now, and you're hanging out here at a grocery store? Yeah, buddy, move on, brother. Those are the guys. Those are the people. You're the worst. All right. I can't have a conversation with you. Johnny come lately. So anyway, that's a random story for no reason.
I
get into other things where the Chiefs
liked it, I guess. I mean,
I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, first of all, my first thought was like, whoops, okay, you're a Bengals fan here, but whatever. Maybe you had to run out and get something real quick, but whatever. I certainly don't think he's just going to come up and, talk some smack, but he did, whatever. Where do the Chiefs have the advantage over different teams in the NFL besides just the Bengals? And we talked about in the previous hour. Number one for Sterling was Brett Veach, the GM, that contract and trades and things like that, sort of separating different categories. Dylan went with Brett Veach as well. My number one that I think the Chiefs have advantages over other teams doesn't mean they have to be the absolute best in the NFL at doing this or this part of it, but they have an advantage that's there, and I think they have a few advantages over, a number of different teams, which creates a really good team that can be a dynasty when you throw the really, high-level Hall of Fame players out there too. Mine was development and coaching, which can include Andy Reid, but really including the drafting for traits and coaching them, putting them in positions, utilizing those guys to go and succeed. And I think we've seen that a lot with the defense and certainly, offensive line, et cetera. So that was my number one, was sort of the ability and the way that the Chiefs develop their players and utilize them, that they can go out there and have a really stud defense last year and have a year where the offense has taken a step back and yet still win a Super Bowl in a year where they should have not won the Super Bowl. Let's go with number two. Sterling, what's your number two?
Yeah, that's my number two, is the development of players, which again is the coaching staff. And again, it's not just Dave Merritt, it's also Andy Heck. I think the job he's done on the offensive line, not just with the studs or the highly drafted players, but with the Allegrettis, with the Andrew Wileys, just in general, finding ways to get it done last year with Donovan Smith, finding ways to get it done when the tackles at times were an issue, but finding ways to overcome that. Coach Daly now, I think he's done a great job. Joe Cullen's been phenomenal, getting the most, it seems like, out of players, like even Mike Dana. And again, I just not just the studs. It's not just the McDuffies, because that's kind of more obvious. It's the what can you do with the Rashad Fittons? What can you do with the Chavarius Wards and the L'Jarius Sneeds and the fourth rounders of Josh Williams and the Jalen Watsons and the development of those guys? And again, we'll never know how much of it is drafting versus scheme versus development, but I have to believe development plays a large aspect and a large part of this. So I think that's a massive advantage the Chiefs have over other teams.
Dylan, what's your number two?
Dylan is putting his headset on right now. He was in the middle of a separate conversation. What do you want to tell the class, Dylan?
So
hand us the note.
We're on number two
let's
here.
Read the note out loud. Dylan, you're going to have to read the note out loud now. Sorry, I told you guys if you're going to pass notes.
Susie loves Dylan, so that's the note, yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
Who's Susie?
I know. I don't know.
Who's Susie?
Who knows?
My cousin Susie? Dylan,
Yeah,
what do you have to tell me right now?
that your cousin Susie loves him.
Yep.
That's what the note says.
She probably would. She probably would.
Oh, thank you, Sterling. So we're on number two, I'm guessing.
Number two, yep.
Has anyone said the quarterback? I was going to say the quarterback kind of.
I mean, you could throw quarterback in there.
I'll go quarterback.
Feels kind of like a free space, but that's fine.
Yep, I'll go quarterback because kind of like Aaron Rodgers, and not even close to, because we do a lot more for Patrick than the Packers kind of did for Aaron. He makes up for a lot of mistakes, and last year the wide receiver depth and situation is a very good example of that. So I'm going to go the quarterback as number two is kind of the most important thing for us, because you can make, bad decisions, and he can make up for those.
Well, let me just say that I didn't include the quarterback because I figured that was like number one on everybody's.
Yeah.
So I didn't include the quarterback. But I mean, because that can be thrown into GM and drafting too. But my number two is the GM, Brett Veach, and the contracts and the trades that you talked about in the previous hour, Sterling and Dylan, in that having the Stones to reach a point with Tyreek Hill and go, it doesn't make sense anymore. We can't do it. Like, we can't make this deal. Like, we can't sign you to this high level of contract. And if that means we have to trade you, then we're going to have to trade you. And we're going to have to trust ourselves and our ability of drafting and developing and finding guys to revamp and rebuild this defense and completely turn it over from where this team was, a couple of years ago in the AFC Championship game, in which they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. Going back to that game and who played in that game on defense to where they end up at defense 2 years later to win a Super Bowl against San Francisco and to have a high-level defense, like to be able to put those players on the field. And they exchanged some of the explosiveness of the offense with Tyreek Hill, but they exchanged that with defense that was shut down, defense that was, just that good. And it's shown. And that's, drafting, that's the GM, it's contracts as well. It's signing Justin Reed, letting Tyrann Mathieu walk, making sure that you're able to re-sign, Chris Jones. Like, you've got to make that work in re-signing Chris Jones and keeping Patrick Mahomes, happy and restructuring that contract, signing a Joe Tooney, drafting Karlaftis and developing Snead, but drafting Snead and drafting McDuffie, drafting Bolton and et cetera, and on down the line. And I know that, we're looking at from that particular game to now, but, just the sort of the difference that's there. So here was the starting 11 for the Chiefs against the Bengals in that AFC Championship game that they lost. The defensive line was Frank Clark, Chris Jones, Jaron Reed, and Melvin Ingram. There's exactly one person left from that, and that's Chris Jones. The linebackers were Anthony Hitchens, Willie Gay, and Nick Bolton. So there's two. It's, Nick Bolton and Willie Gay, part of that. The secondary was L'Jarius Sneed, Charvarius Ward, Tyrann Mathieu, and Juan Thornhill.
That's filthy. That's a great quad right there.
So your defense against the Bengals, in which you lost in the AFC Championship game, to then winning Super Bowls the next 2 years, had 4 players that were carried over from that to 2 years later, while losing Tyreek Hill along the way.
How was
that defense without Tyreek Hill? Like, okay, good luck winning. They lost that game with Tyreek Hill.
How is that secondary not better? I mean, you bring up the names and you're like, oh my gosh, those guys are studs. But I guess
because unfortunately that year Tyrann Mathieu was making business decisions.
And Juan Thornhill was also, I think, injured a good chunk of that. And L'Jarius Sneed wasn't necessarily L'Jarius Sneed quite yet. I get it. It's just funny when you look back at some of the names and you're like, wow, Travarius, L'Jarius, Tyrann Mathieu, and Juan Thornhill. You're sitting here going, what a great secondary. And you look at it now, you're like, they're getting better production from McDuffie, obviously L'Jarius
like last
Sneed,
year. Last year, like McDuffie, Sneed, it would have been Cook if not for the injury. But, I'll go with Cook, even though Edwards played in the Super Bowl because Cook was injured. But Cook and Reed, that's 2 different safeties and a different cornerback. And those 2 safeties were a second-rounder and a free agent. And the cornerback was a first-rounder in which they traded ahead of Buffalo and peed in their Cheerios when they got notified that it was the Chiefs that traded with the Patriots to jump ahead of them. I love that. Showed up on my timeline this morning. Somebody goes, hey, just thinking about the time when the Bills found out it was the Chiefs that traded ahead of them and got McDuffie. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. They were just distraught. They're like, Patriots are moving back? Who's moving up? Patriots are moving back? And then they get the notification from the league. The Patriots have made a trade with the Kansas City Chiefs, and they looked at Chiefs trade ahead of us. Chiefs trade, and they just went white. Just a ghost. Just all of the blood left their body, and they were stuck with Kyer Elam. And the Chiefs went and got their guy, Trent McDuffie, which is, by the way, throw that into the GM as well. That might be one of the sneaky biggest moves that was made over the last 3 years in the AFC.
Yeah.
If Trent McDuffie is on the Buffalo Bills and Kyer Elam is on the Chiefs, I mean, we're talking about that one move being so incredibly significant and helping the Chiefs win 2 Super Bowls because they would have to pay L'Jarius Sneed.
I was
You
about
can't
to
let
say,
L'Jarius Sneed walk. Yeah,
Sneed's
if
right
you've
here,
got
that's the
Kyer
case.
Elam. Yeah, you've got Kyer Elam, who's might get cut this year. Might not even make the team for the Bills.
Good on Mahomes for
And that
making
was
all
your
these
first
trades. Put him number one above Brett.
I love that. That's a great call. Good call. Nice job. But yeah, it's just the things that have been done from that game to then a couple of months later, you trade Tyreek Hill. And going back to that spot, because remember where we were when that happened. The Chiefs had won a Super Bowl, lost the Super Bowl, lost in the AFC Championship game, traded Tyreek Hill. They were going backwards, right? What do you do then? And all they did then was, build up the offensive line, continue to do that with draft picks, and then, coach up the offensive line, et cetera, and revamp that entire defense and win 2 Super Bowls.
My number 3 is kind of similar. I wanted to separate this from Brett Veach in totality because I think there's more into it than just one guy. So my number 3 was the Chiefs drafting, which might surprise some people because they're sitting here going, well, how did you not draft Pickens or how did you not draft DK Metcalf? And I think that's a fair argument. My pushback, as always, the Chiefs don't always draft the best guys. They have to an extent, like McDuffie, obviously, and obviously Mahomes. But they a lot of times don't have complete whiffs. And that's a huge thing in the landscape of the NFL when you have a quarterback on a non-rookie deal. You're finding ways to get value from 6th, 4th, 7th round guys. And even if you miss on a first rounder, like obviously Clyde was not a first rounder. I hated it from the get-go, but he wasn't a complete and utter zero, right? Where he was drafted was horrible. He's still a Kansas City Chief, and he's still going to get some touches this year. McCole Hardman, as much as we complain about him being drafted and not DK Metcalf, McCole Hardman is actually still back on this team now, and he's been way better than a lot of guys, the Paris Campbells and the Andy Isabellas, who were complete and utter negatives right? and zeros, right? And so that's where it comes from me is I think the Chiefs' ability to find ways to get value out of guys, even Rashad Fenton in the 6th round, right? I know it's kind of a forgotten name now, but as a rookie, he was playing in the Super Bowl going up against George Kittle and held his own. That's an underrated aspect that I feel like people don't bring up enough. That to me is what it comes down to is they find ways to get value out of players, and especially positions and where they're drafted that traditionally other teams do not. Pacheco in the 7th round. They learned from Clyde and they drafted Pacheco in the 7th. They got value there. So for me, that is a huge advantage the Chiefs have. It's not always hitting on the superstars by any means, right? Because they already have him here, of course. But hitting on the average players. It's what Tampa Bay does so well. It's what the Dodgers do so well. They don't have 6, 7, 8, 9 as black holes. The Chiefs don't have 3, 4, 5 black holes offensively or defensively. They find ways to plug those guys with at least, at a minimum, average players. And that, to me, is huge and a massive advantage over other teams. So for that, I'm going drafting 3rd overall as the biggest advantage the Chiefs have.
Dylan, what's your 3rd overall? Kelsey?
No, it's
Chris Jones, actually.
Andy Reid. Because
okay, great, yeah, Reid.
I'm kind of doing the Belichick Brady situation here, where I'm giving credit that all of them have together. But Andy Reid before Mahomes was Kyle Shanahan, basically, with the playoff success and losing and having heartbreaks. So I just feel like without Brett Veach, we would have maybe had Paxton Lynch or someone else, because he was the guy pounding the table for Patrick Mahomes in the beginning. Yeah. And then Patrick Mahomes comes in, does his thing as number 2, and changes the culture. And also Andy Reid has to be there, and he helps out, and obviously is a massive part of the development, like you said, and also hiring Dave Merritt and Spags and changing from Bob Sutton as well when everyone kind of knew that had to happen, and changing his stripes a little bit. So, and running the football this year, changing his stripes again, like saying, hey, we're going to run the football with Pacheco and play to our defense, which is something that Andy Reid, if you were told Eagles fans that Andy Reid did that, they would not believe you. They would think it's an alternate universe. So I'll go Veach, Mahomes, Reid.
So my number 3, because I incorporate, I guess when I went with development as my number 1 and then general manager as my number 2, for those two combined, it would have to include drafting. And that's why we sort of left it open to interpretation for the three of us as to how we view this. Because with the development, it includes, the drafting. With the GM, even when we look at contracts and trades, et cetera, certainly includes the drafting. So it would be, out of my top 2 or 3, drafting would certainly be in there because I think they've killed it along the way. But with that being included in my 1 and 2, sort of by, osmosis or by proxy, I mean, my number 3 is going to be cap management, and having the cap guys in this organization to be able to structure a contract with Patrick Mahomes the way that they have done, to be able to maneuver the cap with big time players, and figure out guys they can and can't sign, guys they will go to the edge with and then not go over the edge because of the cap situation, and not just get caught in a, well, we're desperate, we have to do that, holding to their guns and being disciplined in some of those things. That I think it's one of the reasons why they've been in the position that they are. It makes it easier when you have Patrick Mahomes. Absolutely, it does. It makes it easier for you to go, Tyreek, we can't go there because we've got Patrick Mahomes and we think he can make other guys better. Tyreek can't make the secondary better. Patrick can't make the secondary better. Patrick can't make the defensive line better. He can maybe, he can make some wide receivers better. But being able to manage the cap, not be in a position to where they go, well, they're in cap hell. The Falcons and Saints seem to be perpetually every year like, well, who are going to be the cap casualties because they're starting the season $15 million over the cap. They're starting the offseason. They've got to figure out how to get down to what the cap is. Then how do they get under the cap before they can sign anybody? And then after signing guys and doing all that, well, next year they're going to be way over the cap because of what they're doing with kicking the can down the road. Like, we haven't talked about that with the Chiefs going into an offseason and going, well, they're screwed. They can't bring in anybody. They can't add to this team. They have to shed because of a cap situation. And they're able to re-sign Chris Jones. They're able to, give more money to Travis Kelce. And yes, there is the kicking the can down the road with Patrick Mahomes, but because of the structure of that deal and working that out, that, they're able to get by and utilize some of those built-in guaranteed mechanisms along the way. So this team's ability to never be touching the ceiling of the cap when the season starts so that they've got wiggle room to, as we've said in the past, essentially keep the lights on. Like, you're going to need $3 or $4 million before the season starts just to keep the lights on throughout the course of the year of elevating guys or signing somebody or making a trade. Like, you can't be sitting there at max salary cap week 1 of the NFL season because, you're going to have to, make some moves. You're going to have to pay some more money on that cap. So, to me, cap management has been a big part of the Chiefs, that they have never found themselves in cap hell because of the discipline that they have, and having Patrick Mahomes gives them a built-in advantage to that.
Can I give a small honorable mention if we're only doing 3? Can I just give
absolutely.
a small a little tidbit here? I think one of the more underrated aspects of the Chiefs that I don't think anyone talks about enough. I think, quite frankly, about 2 people do. Myself and Nick Lowry. We talk about this all the time. I think Harrison Butker, or at least special teams, needs a little more credit. Because the Chiefs, as good as they are, they win on the margins in a game that is driven by parity. Every advantage matters. And special teams matters. I know some of the drop punts and, issues.
The rough 2 years ago.
The rough 2 years ago.
Butker's ankle,
But when Harrison Butker's been healthy, he's been one of, if not the best kicker, the second best kicker in football. How many teams struggle in big-time moments against good teams when you have to win on the margin? When you have to win against good teams, then the kicker comes into play. And the fact of the matter is the Chiefs aren't a team like the Chargers who have perpetually been looking for guys, not the Vikings who have missed all those kicks. It's not the double doink in Chicago. It's not the Buccaneers kickers who've been looking for kickers for perpetually 20 years, it feels like. I think there is something to the Chiefs having some faith and some consistency with the kicker, where they know that when he's going to be there, 40-yarder game on the line, he's going to make it. And again, it doesn't always matter when you're playing the Raiders or when you're playing the Panthers, but when you're in the playoffs and you're playing good teams and the margins matter more, they're even more razor thin. Well, having a kicker you trust compared to a lot of other teams in football where there's maybe about 5 to 7 kickers that I think teams really trust every single game in and out, well, I think it's a big thing. You trust Aubrey, you trust Tucker, and you trust Harrison Butker. The rest, I don't know how much you do.
Yep. No, I'm with you. That's been huge. And look, we'll see, in a year or whenever, when they've got to re-sign Butker or figure out if they have to move on, if it's too expensive. But right now they have a guy that with the game on the line, I'm pretty damn confident in, and that is a tough thing to find. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. NBA draft night number 2 coming up tonight, along with game number 1 of the 4-game set with the Cleveland Guardians. We'll talk about both of those things on the other side of the break. More Zone next. All right, we continue on a Thursday edition of The Zone. And coming up 20 minutes from now, we'll play some sports or leisure at 1 o'clock, presented by Johnny's Tavern. And sports, both of them. I know it's but you actually have to do both. It's both. Thank you. It's both. So tonight is night 2 of the NBA draft. It is also game 1 of the 4-game set with the Royals and Guardians, with Michael Wacha out on the mound. So night 2 of the NBA draft is essentially Bronny night, because that's all that ESPN and I don't know, maybe the NFL Network, are they also talking about Bronny to the Lakers? Is NFL Network also discussing that?
And how does it affect the Cowboys?
That's exactly right. If Bronny joins the Lakers, how does it affect Cowboys fans who are really excited about what their Lakers are going to do this year?
How about Furphy? Did Furphy get bad intel? Because Furphy was projected to go top 20, and he fell out of the first round. I was a little surprised by that. I mean, there were some guys that fell. Obviously, I think Dalton Knecht falling to 17 to the Lakers. Slightly surprising. Obviously, he's an older guy, 23 years old, which for the NBA is almost ancient. Andrew Wiggins was in his 5th year when he was 23. I mean, that's not even a hyperbole. That's just fact. So it's just age is so important in the NBA. But with a down draft, I mean, such a down draft, I thought he was going to go a little higher. But yeah, I was.
Well, I think. Sorry, but I think what we're seeing too, and especially with Furphy being younger. And, I thought he would be a first-rounder as well. But I've seen a lot of different best availables, and he's pretty much at the top of a lot of them. That best available, number 1, Johnny Furphy, Kansas. So I think there was a surprise, among the prognosticators and those draft analysts that Johnny Furphy is still there. But the thing that sticks out to me is when you see a lot of these guys that are still on the board that are best available, it's Furphy at Kansas, Filipowski at Duke, Kolek at Marquette, Cameron Christie at Minnesota, Bona at UCLA. You've got McCullough at Kansas, Justin Edwards at Kentucky, Jonathan Magbo at San Francisco, Ajay Mitchell at UC Santa Barbara, Cam Spencer, UConn. You're seeing a trend there of the guys that are best available because they've gone the foreign route and the younger route in the first round, and now you've got some of the established college guys that are hey, these guys are the best available, so you're no longer looking at true untapped potential upside guys that maybe you know a little bit more about, and then guys that maybe you can tap into some upside, which is why there was a little surprise to me that Johnny Furphy wasn't taken earlier, just because he's still 12 years old, I think.
Yeah, well, again, it is kind of funny. You look at the age. I mean, again, you're talking about Kevin McCullough, who's, 5th-year senior? Or is he 4th? Or was he just 4?
He's been in the draft last year.
Cam Spencer, he's old. Jamal Shed, he's been there. Just different animal of how the NFL and NBA drafts are just so completely different. But yeah, Johnny Furphy, him, and then Kyle Filipowski. I'm not a Duke guy. I've always ripped on Duke. Don't worry, Duke fans. I also rip on North Carolina and their fake classes.
I bet there's Duke fans around that are really upset that you would rip on their
on their program. Well, there are also a lot of times I think Bama football fans. But I felt bad for Filipowski, man. You saw that video of him because he again was a guy who thought he was getting drafted pretty obvious in the first round and did not. Those are the two surprises to me. Not a ton of surprises, but Furphy and Filipowski were the two guys in the first that did not go that I was surprised by.
Well, it's funny looking back to this time last year. I mean, I would have not only been surprised, I would have been shocked. I mean, if I woke up tomorrow with my head sewn to the carpet, I would have been more surprised than I would have been if you'd have said, hey, this shooter in this really small town in Kentucky is going to go number 3 in the NBA draft. That would have been shocking to me. And I understand in today's game why that's the case. And it's not like he's, hey, you know what? He's kind of sneaky athletic. Well, he's got a 43-inch vertical. So he's not only is an amazing shooter. Yes, exactly. I mean, like, just because he's a shooter doesn't mean that he can't move around and also maybe play a little point guard, because he's also pretty good at dishing the basketball. But the man shot like 48% on NBA threes last year. Catch and shoot threes, he was like 60%. It was unbelievable. Like, spot up open threes, he was like 70% last year. And like they got the best shooter in the draft. And in today's game, shooters, guys that can stretch a defense, you can play off of that, and we'll see what he ends up doing. But, that skill, like, it's a different level when you're talking about, okay, this guy can shoot, because he was viewed as one of the best shooters in America coming into college. But I don't think anybody thought he would have the season that he had when he's, 50% from behind the arc. And then when you break it down into the different types of shots and you say, yeah, but even from NBA range, the guy was still above 40%. And then if you look at open spot up threes, it's like, yeah, he didn't miss. Like, he was, if you left him there open, he was knocking those things down. And yeah, you're going to have to do some other things in the NBA. You're not just going to be a spot up shooter as the number 3 pick in the draft. You're going to have to create. You're going to have to create for teammates as well. So you're going to have to show that you're good enough, strong enough, have a good enough body that you can go and do that in the NBA. I may have said NFL again, but in the NBA. And so him going number 3 is, wasn't a surprise with all of the draft buildup, because that seemed to be the expected spot for him. But from a year ago, we were talking yesterday about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and that guy coming out of nowhere from being like the number 50 overall recruit in his particular recruiting class to then being, a top pick. And I don't remember where he went in the draft. Do you remember where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was drafted? In the draft. He was top 10.
I was going to,
but I
actually thought I was going to say top 15. So maybe you were.
Yeah.
He was drafted 11th.
Yeah. So do you want to throw a dart to see what the 24/7 Sports composite rating for Reed Sheppard was? Reed Sheppard coming out of high school.
Oh, are they on a scale like 1 to 100?
Yeah, just whatever. I mean, it's obviously higher than 100, but he was in the top 100. He was one of the best shooters in America. But like, we're talking about, like, hey, this guy in the NBA next year in this recruiting class, he's going to be the number 3 pick in the draft.
Oh no, yeah, I'm just
go and tell me who that is. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think his consensus?
Second rounder, so like 35.
35, not bad, not bad. Dylan, you want to throw a dart?
I'll go Price is Right, 36.
I like it, yeah. His composite ranking, which has taken all the rankings of all the different sites, he was the 43rd player in the class.
Yeah.
24/7 had him ranked as the 79th player in the class, that team specifically. And if you're like, Stephon Castle was number 10.
Sure.
He's top 10 guy. But if you like look up and down the line, like Isaiah Collier to USC was a pretty damn good player. Ron Holland, we saw him, go in the top 10. He was number 2. Justin Edwards at Kentucky was number 3. Aaron Bradshaw at Kentucky, number 4. Metalis Buzelis, the kid from Wichita, maybe not from Wichita, but he was at Sunrise Christian. He was there at number 5. DJ Wagner, number 6. He didn't, have all that great of a season for a guy who's a top 10 recruit, right? Cody Williams at Colorado, Jacoby Walter at Baylor.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good player. And then Stephon Castle at number 10. But you got to go down the line to get to number 43 to find Reed Sheppard as the number 3 overall pick and the first college player taken.
Well,
and I think it goes to show, like, when you get an opportunity, because he played at his high school, like, he didn't transfer to IMG.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he played at his small school in London, Kentucky. He's not from a booming metropolis. He was at a small school, put up crazy numbers, and it's like, yeah, great shooter in a small school, cool. He stayed there. And didn't have to transfer to some big school, didn't have to transfer to one of those programs that we see, and still ended up being the number 3 pick in the draft, which is kind of cool that, you can do that at your local high school too.
And that actually is badass. I mean, that's badass. But what I think was so interesting with him in particular, and why he was probably so far down as he's 6'2". 6'2" in the NBA as a combo guard is very small. I mean, Stephon Castle is a 6'6" point guard. So you're seeing how he's going to fit on
like
Houston.
6'10" wingspan, too.
Yeah, and his wingspan is 6'2" as well. So it's not like Reed Shepherd has long arms.
Yep.
But again, he might be a very good fit, almost in that Fred VanVleet sort of mold, if you will, which is funny because Houston actually has Fred VanVleet on their team. Really good year last year for Fred. But I think that, to me, is almost a good comp of what Reed could be as a Fred VanVleet type.
So as we go to break, something funny that happened last night in the first round of the draft as ESPN was doing the different graphics and everything, and you sell some sponsorships and advertising, and Stephon Castle, gets drafted and goes to the Spurs, and then Rob Dillingham gets drafted and goes to the Spurs, and they put up the graphic of State Farm, welcome to the neighborhood. Rob Dillingham and Stephon Castle, playing together. And as the graphic is up, they then announced the trade that Rob Dillingham's going to Minnesota. And I thought that was just perfect in that you can't count anything. Like, you can't just simply say this guy is going to this spot. Because you never know. And they couldn't even get through the sponsorship graphic of the State Farm welcome to the neighborhood of two players going to the Spurs before that guy was traded in the middle of that graphic. It was just great timing. Oh, man. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling more zone next. Man, I've talked about for a few months now, dating back to January, with my experience with Heartland Men's Health and low testosterone. Game set with the Cleveland Guardians starting tonight out at Kauffman Stadium. One of the intriguing parts about this tonight, Kansas City at home, 27-15, playing .643 baseball at home. Cleveland's been awesome everywhere, but they're 25-18 on the road, which is .581. They're 26-9 at home, the Guardians are. 26-9, the Guardians are at home. So they're still awesome. They're almost 600 ball team on the road. But the Royals have a better winning percentage at home than the Guardians do on the road. And they've got their top 3 pitchers pitching in these 4 games. We'll see.
Leisure time. Why not both?
You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 40 if you don't learn to relax.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, that's right. Some sports or leisure. 913-381-0810 is the phone number to join us. First in, first on to play some sports or leisure. It is presented by Johnny's Tavern, premier sports bar in Kansas City. 10 locations, including Lawrence and Topeka. Johnny's Tavern, fantastic spot. We spent one of our tournaments a couple of weeks ago that we played at 8 in the morning. And if we won the game, we didn't play until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, we won the game, and okay, so how are we going to pass the time? All right, well, we were out in, gosh, where were we? Oak Grove, I think, is where we were at. And so we're like, you know what, let's head over to Blue Springs. Let's go to that Johnny's Tavern. It opens up at 11 o'clock. It'll take us a little time to wrap everything up here, pack our bags, get in the car, head over there. And we got there at 5 minutes before it opened. And then, hung out outside and had some Johnny's Tavern, hung there for a couple of hours and passed the time.
Did you play sports or leisure there? Did you play sports or leisure at Johnny's Tavern?
We didn't. There were sports on the TV, and we were being very leisurely in between games. And because of our time at Johnny's Tavern, we then went and won that semifinal game at 2 o'clock.
Strong.
Had we went somewhere else, clearly we would have lost. We would have lost. And yes, I got the Nuke Lelouch. My wife got the. She's a fan of the pretzels that they have, and so yeah, we got the pizza. I was telling everybody, hey man, I don't know what you guys like if you've been here or not, but they have some awesome pizza, wings. You can't go wrong with anything. But one of my go-tos is the pizza and the Wilson wings. So just let you know what we get. So yeah, appreciate Johnny's Tavern, 10 locations, and we will give you $25 to Johnny's Tavern if you get sports and leisure right. You give us a call, 913-381-0810. You get a sports question, you get a leisure question. You get them both right. As I said, you win. If you don't, if either one of them is incorrect, then you lose. And that question is out there available for someone to call in and request if they happen to know the answer to it, or they've been helped along by a phone a friend or technology, whatever it happens to be. We give out the right answer when it is answered correctly by a contestant, or we have simply run out of time to play. That's how we play sports or leisure. Shall we go through the categories here on this fine Thursday, Sterling?
I would love that, Jason.
Great. Let's do it. On the sports side, we have NBA Draft. So we have that as an overall category, but there are categories inside said bigger overarching umbrella category of NBA Draft. It's general NBA Draft, and then we also have questions relating to specifically KU, Mizzou, and K-State. So if you want a draft question, then you would say NBA Draft, I'll take a general. NBA Draft, let me get a K-State. NBA Draft, I'll take a KU. If that's what you so choose. We also have a couple of questions with Royals, a Royals category with just a couple of questions there, but a lot of NBA Draft stuff.
Do you have a Mizzou one? Is there a Mizzou one?
Oh, yeah, I've got 4 Mizzou questions.
Okay, good. Then I don't want to give it away. I was about to say a name, and I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, don't say a name. Yeah, like I said, the KU, K-State, Mizzou, along with general questions in the NBA Draft. So those 3 local schools in general, and then Royals questions, just a couple of those. What about on the leisure side, Sterling?
We have a couple left in Potpourri. Just 2 left Potpourris. We got the one-hit wonders, and then we have riddles, which I beg people to use because I still have all these riddles, and I thought they were fun, and apparently everyone hates them. But I have riddles, and I'm standing up. Okay, I'm standing up this final hour because, Jason, I want to let myself know that I'm better than you, that I'm getting gains right now. I'm actually about to sit in a car for about 3.5 hours as I head to Branson after this. So, yeah, don't forget I'm gone tomorrow. So I'm getting ready to be in a car for a long time, so I'm standing right now.
Did you tell Lebo?
I told Lebo. Lebo knows.
I thought somebody was going to tell me. I guess I'm always the last to find out. No, we knew you were gone. We're throwing a party tomorrow, Sterling. So, it has nothing to do with you being gone. We just happened. We chose a long time ago, June 28th, 2024. We're going to throw a huge party, and it just so happens to be a day that you're gone. So, just coincidental. That's all there is. There's nothing more to it.
I'm playing Buffalo Ridge, so you can party all you want here. I'll be fine.
There you go. You'll be partying, too. You'll be having more fun than we will, for sure. All right, those are the categories. That's how you play. 913-381-0810 is the phone number. First in, first on to play some sports or leisure. Sterling, where do we start?
We start with Charles. Charles.
Sports or leisure, brother? What side do you want to start with?
I think he's on. Dylan has one finger up. Charles, there we go, baby.
Which finger did Dylan
it was the 1 second
one you're
finger.
guessing. Yeah, the one you're guessing. We double.
We double dip.
Yeah, there you go.
We
Well,
double dip.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Very
Okay.
good.
Charles,
Marked.
what's up, playa?
Are you there?
Let's do it. What are we doing?
We're here. Are
Sports
you
or
there?
leisure?
Let's do some pop pork, please.
Oh, baby, he wants that pop pour. One of the two. We have a movie question and a book question.
Let's do the movie.
All right. I don't think you want that
Good for
one.
you, Charles.
Starring Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, Julianne Moore, Emma Stone, Marisa Tomei, and Kevin Bacon. It follows a series of interconnected love stories centered around Cal Weaver, a recently separated man who learns how to be more romantic and charm women. A lot of big names. Steve Carell, Ryan
There are a lot of big
Gosling,
names in there.
Emma Stone, Marisa Tomei, Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
A recently separated man who learns how to become more romantic and charm women.
Crazy Stupid Love.
It sure enough is. I watched that with my fiance not too long ago, and I thought that's going to be a great question for potpourri.
There you go. Good
Sounds
job.
like a chick flick to me, but I'm not sure.
It sure enough is, but it's pretty good.
Yeah,
I
you know what?
I like Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling, so it better than I thought. Better than I thought,
See?
Charles.
Look, you were working that night. You know, you're watching a movie and you were working it. You used it a couple of weeks later. On to the sports side, Charles. We've got NBA draft with those different categories, or we have a couple of Royals questions.
Let's do a couple of the Royals questions, but one of them,
Okay,
of course.
very good. Yes. Let's go with Bobby Witt pacing for 45 doubles this year. 46 doubles, maybe. Doesn't matter. That's not really all that pertinent to the question, whether it's 45 or 46. Since Mike Sweeney, the Royals have had 3 players record at least 46 doubles in a season. Name 2.
2 to 3, 46 doubles or more in a season.
Since Sween Dog.
I feel like one should come to you pretty quickly. There's one, if I'm not mistaken here, Jason.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 46 doubles in a season since Sween Dog. I think Bobby Witt will get there if he stops stretching these things into triples. He led the league with 11 last year. He's got 8 already. That's unbelievable, man.
After 2002 or 3, probably.
After
I
Sweeney.
I wonder why he needs that information, Jason.
Yeah, well, just after Sweeney. You know, it's like I said, after Mike Sweeney.
I'm going to shoot a dart and say Whit Merrifield.
Whit Merrifield was not one of them, actually.
Dang.
Whit Merrifield, not one of them. Charles, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it, brother. No Whit. So 913-381-0810 is the phone number. Who is up next, Sterling?
We'll go with Ryan. Ryan up next.
Hey guys,
Ryan, sports or leisure?
NBA draft. KU
Yes.
one?
NBA draft KU for you. Okay, so before Ochai and Christian Brown a couple of years ago, who were the last pair of KU teammates to be drafted in the first round?
That Embiid and Wiggins?
That's a question to the question. I need an answer.
I'll go with that.
Yes, that is correct. Wiggins and Embiid is correct. Those were the last two. You got to, with all the KU draft picks, it's like, oh wait, which year was that there were multiple KU draft picks? Whatever. On to leisure with Sterling.
Oh, let's go with the one-hit wonder.
All right, one-hit wonders. We'll go with Bittersweet Symphony.
The Verve.
That is the Verve. Nailed it.
Nice. Okay,
All
very
right,
good.
guys.
That was the easiest win ever, I think.
Yeah,
for
that
Ryan.
was pretty good. Yeah, Ryan, you just in, out, and get your $25 to Johnny's Tavern. Nice
Hey
job.
guys, I love Lebo.
We love Lebo too.
Don't we all?
We love
Thank you,
Lebo,
Ryan.
too.
Ryan is a winner. So I was mixing up the one-hit wonders with the finish that lyric.
Yeah.
And when you said the symphony, and I'm like, does he have to name the notes?
Yes. Yeah.
What note?
It's actually in B minor. It was Bittersweet Symphony in B minor. Yeah.
No, it was a minor. Who's up next, Sterling?
We'll go with Sean. Sean's up next.
Sean, sports or leisure?
Let's start with sports. Let's go KU NBA draft.
Sports KU NBA draft. Let's see. Let's go with this one. Bill Self. He has had 5 players drafted in the top 10 while he's been at Kansas. Who was his first player drafted in the top 10 at Kansas?
Oh, my goodness.
Do you know this one, Sterling?
Bill Self, first player drafted in the top 10 at Kansas. I have 2 guesses.
Okay.
Was one to OKC?
Well,
Or would have been Seattle?
I don't want to give hints away.
Do you know what I'm talking about, Dylan? The name I was thinking?
I'm just looking at the answer. But yes,
yeah, he's got the answer.
I do have the answer.
Yeah, you were close
You
on
do?
the team's locations.
But it's
I
not
think-
the right
Yeah.
answer.
I don't know. I really don't know, but I'm just going to go maybe Thomas Robinson. I don't know.
Thomas Robinson, drafted number 5 in 2012. The first one for Bill Self to be drafted in the top 10 to the Sacramento Kings. Thomas Robinson.
When did Bill Self take over at KU? What year was that?
2004?
Okay, that's why. Because I went Nick Collison, and Nick Collison was, I think, right before.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
And that,
that
also,
would have been a Roy guy.
And he went 12th, by the way. So I thought it was Nick Collison. I went a ways back there.
Yeah, but like even if it was like drafted with Bill, like what I was getting at too is like a Bill Self player as well.
Fair.
You know what I mean?
Fair.
Like even if Collison was drafted after that, that's like a Bill Self. That's a Roy Williams guy, but a true Bill Self player, Thomas Robinson. On to leisure with Sterling.
What were the categories again?
We have one-hit wonders, we have riddles, and we have one left in potpourri, which is actually a book.
I'm not going to know anything about books.
You just got to name the book. It's actually the easiest one.
I love it. Oh, really? Is it the Giving Tree? Is it that easy?
Let's go. Let's go. What was the second one? You had one-hit wonders, and what was the other one?
Riddles.
Riddles. I don't know. All right, let's try riddles.
All right, going with riddles. Oh, I'm excited for this one. All right, riddles. What belongs to you, but is used by everyone you meet?
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Do you get it, Jason?
Answer.
You got it?
I know the answer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What belongs to you, but is used by everyone you meet?
I didn't write down the contestant's name. What's his name again?
Sean.
Sean. Okay. I just want to write down all the different people's names that we have here.
Clever,
so I can
Jason.
keep track of
Clever.
the names of them.
I see what
What's
you're
up?
doing. It's my name. My name.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh, that was the answer?
What belongs to you, but is used by everyone you meet? It's Sean.
Wow, that's nice job, Sean. Nice job. Wow, I've stepped in that one. I apologize, Sterling.
It took me a second to click that hint right there, but I clicked it.
I mean, I'm not sure that was a hint. I just didn't know what I was doing. Sean, that's a winner, right? That's both sports and leisure in a little game we like to call Sports or Leisure. We'll put you on hold and get your information, and you got $25 at Johnny's Tavern. Well done, sir.
Thanks, buddy.
Absolutely. Was that an obvious hint?
Only slightly.
Well, here's the thing. I actually forgot to write his name down. I do write all the names down that we have contestants, but I did not write his name down as we brought him on. So I wanted to do that, and I guess it just so happened. I'm glad I was right about that, by the way, because if I was given that obvious hint, and he's like, "Oh, thanks, dude." Oh, actually, we're looking for wrist. Your wrist. Anyway, who's next, Sterling?
We have Matt up next. Matt.
I'm going to write that one down. Matt is up next. Matt, sports or leisure?
Let's go KU NBA draft, please.
KU NBA draft. I just want listeners to know that there are people drafted from Mizzou and K-State as well if they would like to call in for those. But let's go with the KU NBA draft here. Matt, all right. This goes back to Ochai and Christian Brown again, being taken in the first round after winning a national championship at KU. So since the tournament expanded, there have been 3 KU players taken in the first round directly after winning a national championship. Who are they?
You said in the first round?
In the first round. First round draft picks directly that year, few months after winning a national title.
So I think Rush and Arthur both were after 2008.
Well done. Yes.
Nice.
I actually thought the easier one is the one you haven't named yet.
Danny Manning.
There you go. Yeah, Danny Manning. I thought Darrell Arthur would, if somebody did not get one, I thought it would be Darrell Arthur. Nice job, Danny Manning, Brandon Rush, and Darrell Arthur, who was traded 5 times that night. We talked about that yesterday or Monday with Mick when we were talking about the crazy night that you went to bed and Darrell Arthur had been traded 3 times and you woke up and he had been traded 2 more times. It's like, what the heck, man? Nice job, Danny Manning, Brandon Rush, and Darrell Arthur. Matt, over to Leisure with Sterling.
Let's try a riddle, please.
All right, I'll give you a riddle. What has hands but cannot clap?
Oh, yeah, I got this one.
Is it like a clock or a watch?
It is a clock. There we go. See, riddles aren't bad. Everyone gets scared by them. They're fun.
I'll be honest with you. I was a little nervous when you said that riddles was a category, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know that we just want people just sitting there for 20 minutes trying to figure out said riddle. But no, those are fine, and we got some really smart people too. So there we go. Matt, that's a winner. Well done. Congratulations, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Look at that. Just giving out some winners constantly, left and right here. 913-381-0810. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue playing some sports or leisure. 913-381-0810. Sports questions, leisure questions, $25 to Johnny's Tavern here on this Thursday. More Zone next.
All right, I'm here again to let you know that tomorrow at 8 a.m., Greenlight Dispensary is doing another June drop this Friday because they do June drops every week on Mondays and Fridays. Greenlight Dispensary is going to be doing another drop of a set of amazing products with massive discounts before the weekend. So set your alarms and reminders and pick from the amazingly vast menu with the help of their AI bud tenders on greenlightdispensary.com. Or you can go to one of their 4 KC area locations. Bannister Road in 435, Nolan Road in Independence, 135th and State Line is where I go, and then Harrisonville, Missouri as well. And you can speak to one of their in-person bud tenders and ask about the specials that they have going on tomorrow. And they have amazing customer service, and that's why they're voted the #1 dispensary in the state of Missouri. They also have the #1 loyalty program in the state of Missouri because I was able to use my points for any of the products I wanted, and I got $10 off last weekend. So make sure to remember to check them out tomorrow for this Friday's June drop. And remember that every week they're doing drops Monday and Friday for this June. You can see all the specials tomorrow at greenlightdispensary.com. That's greenlightdispensary.com.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We had up until 2 o'clock. Playing some sports or leisure on this Thursday, 913-381-810, $25 to Johnny's Tavern. We are giving away, if you get a sports question and a leisure question right, the categories to reset those. We have NBA draft, and we have Royals questions, a couple of Royals questions. One that's out there right now that we got a wrong answer on, so that one's available. But in the NBA draft category, we have general NBA draft questions. We have now Mizzou and K-State, just seeing that the KU questions have been exhausted. I came up with 3. I didn't know that every single person calling in was just going to be calling in for a KU draft question. I thought, equal time, equal, give some for Mizzou, give some for K-State. No, how dumb. So the KU questions have been exhausted. But we have general draft questions, Mizzou, K-State, and Royals. What about leisure, resetting the category for leisure?
We have one-hit wonders, we have riddles, and we have one question left in potpourri, a.k.a. potpourri.
Okay. Very good. I do want to pass along some information, a little breaking news. Dylan, can you hit the breaking news sounder, please? It has to do with the NBA draft tonight. Sorry, I know you're doing it. So this comes from Sham Sharania. Does a great job covering the NBA. Breaking news, he has reported the Lakers are showing interest in Bronny James. So there you go. That is now. So they are showing interest in Bronny James. Something to keep in mind. I mean, that's out of left field.
All right, let's
Yeah, because LeBron has no hand in hiring
go to
or
Max.
drafting. So.
Does he? If they draft him at number 55 tonight, does he call him Dad on the court?
Hey, Dad, pass the ball.
Does he call him LeBron? Like, does he call
Sir.
him
It's
King? How does he refer to his teammate Dad if he's looking for the basketball? Woo! Hey, right here. Woo! Woo! Ball. Dad, I'm right here. What does LeBron call him? Does LeBron, yell at him? Does LeBron do more yelling at him on the court than he ever did off the court to discipline him? That's what I would want to know. And LeBron's like, look, man, I got to be harder on you to make sure people don't think this is nepotism.
Yeah, I know we're kidding, but this is all the reason why they shouldn't do it is because these are.
Oh, I agree.
These are like actual facts and like weird situations that probably will happen. Like, what is LeBron gonna do when his kid, Bronny messes up at practice and it's like, yeah, we drafted him for you. So.
There's an element of living sort of a charmed life in having your dad be LeBron James and having to want for nothing in life. Yeah. But there is also the element of like, hey, I am my own person, and I've been trying to make the NBA as a player, and he'll never if he's drafted tonight, no matter who he's drafted by, it's going to be it's just because his name is LeBron James Jr. That's the 100%. Only reason. He's drafted, and especially if he goes to the Lakers.
Yes, I agree.
So there is that element where I kind of feel bad for him, but
and to be honest, if he
had a pretty good life.
If he didn't hire J.J. Redick, it probably would be a little less bad too. But after not getting Dan Hurley and then hiring his podcast partner and then drafting his son, it's going to be a little louder, just a little louder.
Yeah, but I mean, you never know because Shams Charania is now breaking news that they are interested in Bronny James. To draft him tonight as one of 2 teams that actually worked him out. They are interested in drafting him.
I wonder also
the Lakers and the Suns.
Maybe the Lakers are trying to drive up value too.
Yes, that's right.
So
draft and trade. Draft him and you get a first-round draft pick next year.
No, maybe like some team that wants him actually will trade up in front of them, but that may be what they're doing.
I'll go with leisure.
I hope for his sake, in all seriousness, then we'll get to, I hope for his sake he's drafted, but not by the Lakers tonight.
Agree.
That's
totally agree with you.
I hope that happens. All right, Sterling, take it away. Who do we have?
We have Max, who has been waiting very patiently.
Yes,
Max, swing in, pal.
Max.
What's
Max,
going
Sports Leisure. What do you got? What's up, bud?
Yeah, I need those. I'm sorry, I forgot what the categories were after the Bronny James.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That was a long tangent. I was trying, Max. I felt so bad for Max just sitting there. Could have been Max Scherzer all along, and we'll have no idea.
Had no idea. Yeah. All right. So we have a category of famous athletes' sons with last name of James. We also have NBA draft general questions, and then we have questions about specifically Mizzou and K-State. Because we're out of the KU questions, and then we have a couple of Royals questions. And that first category I gave you about athletes' last name James is not a real category. What about on leisure with Sterling? Just to remind everybody.
We have one-hit wonders, riddles, and one left in potpourri.
Okay, and I missed, what is the category potpourri even about? Is that literally about potpourri?
No, we only actually have one left in that category, and it's about a book.
Great question.
It's actually a very easy one, I think.
Just a hodgepodge.
Just a book. No much is a hodgepodge, but we ran out, and so we have one book question left. It's actually pretty easy.
Okay. All right. Well, let's roll with potpourri then.
All right. This book follows the mental anguish and moral dilemmas of an impoverished ex-student in St. Petersburg who plans to kill a pawnbroker, an old woman who stores money and valuable objects in her flat. He theorizes that with the money, he could liberate himself from poverty and go on to perform great deeds, and seeks to convince himself that certain crimes are justifiable if they are committed in order to remove obstacles with the higher goal of extraordinary men.
All right, let's go ahead with the NBA draft general questions.
What? What?
You got to answer that one first.
This is so easy. Come on.
All right,
Max.
Just because it's kind of fun. Could you repeat that?
It's Fyodor Dostoevsky. It's Dostoevsky's most famous book. Once the deed is done.
He needs you to repeat the question and then use it in a sentence and then language of origin, please. Sterling, go right ahead.
Fyodor Dostoevsky's most famous book, and it follows the mental anguish of a man. Basically, he's going to commit a crime, and he gets punished for it.
Teddy D.
Oh, man.
I gave you the largest hint possible with what I just said. I please.
You gave him the longest question possible.
Please, Max, if you listen to what I said, I actually gave you the answer. I was so angry I said the answer in it.
Is it the Giving Tree?
Oh,
Missing
God.
piece.
Good
All
Night
right,
Moon?
hold on. I feel like I genuinely don't actually want you to do this, but I feel like I really need the question.
Berenstain Bears.
Okay, this follows the mental anguish of in a moral dilemma of an impoverished ex-student in St. Petersburg who plans to kill a pawnbroker who's an old woman who stores money away in her flat. He theorizes that with the money, he could liberate himself from poverty and go on to perform great deeds. And he tries to seek to convince himself that certain crimes are justifiable. Crimes are justifiable. They're committed in order to remove obstacles for the higher goal. But once the deed is done, however, he finds himself racked with confusion, paranoia, and disgust, which you could maybe say is a punishment, if you will.
Interesting. Is it Mr. Deeds?
All right.
Chronicles of Narnia.
I've said the title of the book like 4 times in
I
this
know.
thing.
I don't know. Dude, I've never read this guy before. Who is this guy?
I've never read this guy before. Dostoevsky.
Yeah, I know the name. The name sounds familiar. I don't know. I feel like it has something to do with morals and crime.
Yes.
And justifiable. Based off the.
And he gets punished for it. The punishment is himself basically racking himself with guilt.
Oh God. You know. Justifiable crimes.
Oh, Max, I tried. I'm so sorry.
No, that's good. I wouldn't have got it. I appreciate it.
Max, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it, dude. That was fun, actually, even though I actually want to read Justifiable Crimes now. I want to know which ones are.
That was actually Tolstoy's response to this book.
It's if you rob a bank to go and watch your favorite team and travel around and support them, is that a justifiable crime? Some would argue.
Could be.
People are saying that's justifiable. All right, who's up next?
We have a good amount left. We still have Greg. Greg, what's up, Greg?
What's up, Greg? Sports or leisure,
Hi,
man?
fellas. Hey, I don't want the question again because the answer is crime and punishment.
Yay!
Yeah,
I said crime and punishment like during
I know you did. Yeah.
I was trying so hard.
Yeah, crime and punishment. I still would have gone with Pete the Cat. I think there's roughly some of the same books and moral dilemmas, real Sophie's Choice about some of those things in Pete the Cat.
I love that book, by the way. I love that book, and that's why it made me so mad. No, Crime and Punishment. I love that book. That's why it made me so sad.
Darn it. Yeah, my daughter loves Pete the Cat. I thought you guys had something in common. All right, Greg, we got the sports side. We got general NBA, and then we've just got Mizzou and K-State questions left on the NBA-specific local schools. And then we've got a Royals question out there and a fresh one.
Well, let's not get it twisted. I'm KU guy, but I'll do a Missouri question.
Hey, all right, there you go. Okay. How old are you?
I am 60 years old.
All right, let's go with this one then. Mizzou has had teammates taken in the first round one time in history. Do you know who they were?
Well,
the reason I asked
said
that
I
is
was
because
a
I found
KU
out-
man, so I'm not sure if this was a great choice on my part.
Well, I did ask your age, so that wouldn't
Right.
be in the last 5 years. So I wanted to make sure that you were, alive, and you would have been, let's see, I think you would have been about 13, 14 years old.
Is one what keeps the solar system alive?
14 years old. Oh, I have no idea.
You'd have been about, you know what, math is difficult. You'd have been about 20. You'd been roughly
Okay.
20 years, 19, 20 years old, right around
I was
there.
born in 63.
Okay, so you'd have been 20 years old. So I'm giving away the year for you.
Well, that's right in my wheelhouse. They
You'd have been 20 years old.
Wow. They had
One is
some good
one hell of a
players.
color commentator now on basketball, in college basketball. I'll say that.
Was that Potter? What's his name? Kyle Potter?
I can tell you Potter was not the answer.
No.
That
Sorry.
wasn't his real answer. That was just his first answer.
That was just the
Like I
first
said,
try.
one of the guys is one heck of a color commentator right now in college basketball. I like him. I think he does a fantastic job, especially around he does a lot of SEC games. So
Oh my God.
one more shot, and then the other one has a great alliteration for a name.
I have no clue. Magic Johnson, my favorite player of all time.
That's a good point. That would have been great. If he went to Mizzou, would he be your favorite player of all time?
Sure.
I appreciate that. Thank you for playing, man. 913-381-0810 is the phone number. He did say, look, I'll take a chance. I'm a KU guy, but let's try Mizzou.
I respect it, honestly. I respect it.
Yeah, I wanted to go, that question would be for somebody who was a little bit older, but I think that one is out there that somebody, even if they're not a Mizzou fan, might be able to get that. Who's up next?
We got Tim. Tim up next.
Hello.
Hey,
Tim, Sports
Tim,
and Leisure,
how
bud.
you
What side do you
doing?
want to start with, man?
Let's do what we usually do. Leisure and one-hit wonders.
All righty, one-hit wonders. We'll go with, I think this band actually had more than one hit, but very popular song, Epic. Believe it came out,
Epic was the... When?
I think 1990, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I'm too old for that, man. Oh, shoot.
You're too
Epic.
old for 1990?
So I'm guessing like hip-hop, right, is the genre?
No, it's, it was rock. It was rock. On the album, The Real Thing, really, really popular song.
Obviously, it was a one-hit wonder.
They had a couple other stuff. Well, some of the other,
Oh, the other one.
well, one of their other famous was actually a cover of War Pigs, right? One of their big songs was a cover by War Pigs by Black Sabbath.
19.
It was ranked number 30 on VH1's 40 Greatest Metal Songs. In 2009, it was ranked 54th best hard rock song of all time.
I'm starting to lose faith that Tim knows the answer here.
Epic.
That's a good one,
Iron
Jason.
Maiden.
Oh!
Iron Maiden?
Oh,
No, I love Iron Maiden. I kind of want to give you a point because
Oh.
Iron Maiden's one of
Well,
my.
my streak. Queensryche?
Oh, no.
I love Queensryche too.
All right.
You're naming great bands.
Yes.
I'm really happy with you.
Well,
Tim,
my
thank you for
streak
playing,
is,
man.
My streak,
Yes, the
2
streak
straight
is
weeks
over.
And I'm out. Thank you, guys.
That's all right. Tim, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, I lost faith in
That's a good one.
that he was going to know the answer to that.
And
Who's
not
up
George
next?
Michael. Up next, we have Shane. Please be Shane Victorino. Come on, Shane.
All right, are you the fly-in Hawaiian, Shane?
I am not Victorino.
Oh, that's okay. You can still play sports or leisure, though. What side do you want to start with?
Well, I like that one-hit wonder question.
All right, who's saying?
And you want it all, but you can't have it, right?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
That's
you do.
the song. Yeah, I love that. Faith No More.
Faith No
There it is.
More. Epic.
Yeah, nice job.
Great song.
All right, on to the sports side. We've got NBA draft. We've got a question out there, Mizzou draft related. We got a question out there about the Royals. Another fresh Royals questions. We got K-State and general NBA draft questions. What are you thinking?
I'm going to snatch up that other ask question, I think. The Mizzou draft question, and I think I'll be 4 years old when that happened. But I know those guys because I watch Sunny on the SEC Network. So John Sunvold and Steve Stepanovich.
That's right. Yes, nice little alliteration with the number 2 overall pick, and a heck of a color commentator with the number 16 overall pick. There you go. So that is a winner, and Shane helps us restore faith. Our faith is lost no more.
Yeah.
In some of the listeners. So thank you. We'll put you on hold. We will get your information. Congratulations, sir.
Thanks, guys. Super duper.
Yeah.
That's right. Steve Stepanovich and John Sonvold. So, teammates in the first round. It's, only been 41 years.
Okay.
So, we'll get back to that. Yeah, it's fine.
I also thought that Faith No More wasn't really a one-hit wonder because I thought they had 2 songs. I think Fall Into Pieces was also a really good song that I would have counted. But I don't make the rules of what people consider a one-hit wonder. Maybe, let's be real now, Epic was a lot larger of a song than
I gotta say, Sterling, I'm gonna take your word for it. Well, that's the
shocking.
case. So,
Shocking.
Yes. Who's up next?
Is it Scott? Scott's up next.
Sure. I don't know. You tell me. Scott, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with?
Hey, what's up, guys? Can I get
What's up, man?
another Mizzou question, please, Jason?
Yes, you can. All right. So, how old are you? I like to get the generation here of when you may have been a fan.
Never ask a lady her age.
So, you don't look a day over 24. All right. Let me just tell you that.
Well, Scott's 22.
I'm 49.
49 years old. All right. 49 years old. Ooh, I can go with either one of these, man, because this would be right in your wheelhouse of like when you would. Who was the last player drafted in the first round to play his entire career for Norm Stewart?
Oh, wow.
The last first-round draft pick to play his entire career for Norm Stewart.
First rounder.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
I'm trying to think. I think it's Anthony Peeler. But Booker wasn't a first rounder, was he?
Nope.
Or am I completely all wet?
He was not. He was not a first rounder. So, so that eliminates one of the other guys you might have been thinking of as opposed to the guy that you said first.
All right. I'm going to say, I'm going to feel real stupid if it's somebody that I'm not thinking of. Yeah, I'm going to say Anthony Peeler.
Well done. Anthony Peeler is correct. Anthony Peeler, the last one to play his entire career for Norm Stewart and be taken in the first round.
Love Anthony Peeler.
Well done. Yes, absolutely.
Love
absolutely.
Peeler.
Like I said, sometimes you just got to, and you would have probably felt dumb if you'd have said somebody else, and it ended up being Anthony Peeler.
It wasn't Keon Dooling? It wasn't.
Well, the one that was giving me pause was, two. was Javon Crudup. I didn't think he was a draft pick
Mm-mm.
or a first rounder, and then Albert White. But then you said, and I remember you said played his entire career for Norm.
Norm Stewart,
and
yep.
he was a transfer. So anyway, all right, sweet.
That's exactly right. That's
That's
one side, right?
One hit
There we
wonder. One hit wonders, please.
All right, one hit wonders. You're 42, so this is probably popular with you growing up. Flagpole sitter.
Flagpole sitter.
You'll remember the song. I don't really want to sing because I can't sing, but fingertips of memories. Mine can't forget the curves of your body. And when I feel a bit naughty, I run up the flagpole and see.
Oh man, this is Sterling's freaking deep cuts B-sides.
No, this was
today.
I thought you did a
1997.
nice job of that. I thought the cover of that song for you, Sterling, it may not get a lot of play nationally, but I thought it was lovely.
You know, it came out in 97. You're 42, right? So doing the math, you would have been. Should be. I thought your wheelhouse. 20.
No, now that you sang it, I recognize the song, but I have no idea who.
Well, that's why it's a one-hit wonder. I've never heard another song by them.
All right. Well, let's wild stab at it. Lustra.
Oh, no, that was Scotty Doesn't Know, though. Great song.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, nice job.
Yeah.
Well done. Love it. Hey,
right.
thank you for playing, man. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you,
Well
guys.
done with Anthony
right.
Peeler.
Petro texted.
913-388-1082.
Petro got it right. He just texted
Did
in
he?
and got it right, yeah. Petro
Nice.
got it right. So
Well done. Well done. By the way, it wasn't a bad guess by you on the Missouri draft question, because that player was recruited by Norm, but his time at Mizzou was split between two coaches. So that, but you were right there. You were close, but obviously the answer was Anthony Peeler. So you would have been wrong, Sterling, is what I'm saying.
there we go.
There
we go.
But you were sort of on the right path. Do we have anybody left, or do we need to take a timeout? Let's take a break, and we'll come back. If we have some more time to play, we'll do that. 913-381-0810. More Zone right after this. winners, but a rough second segment there with only one side of the sports or leisure being answered. Do you have an answer to the question that you have out there, Sterling?
Yeah, flagpole sitta was Harvey Danger. Harvey Danger. They had that song in 1997. That was probably the harder one of the ones out there, but I figured he was 42 seemed like the perfect age to try and get that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that the only one you did not get an answer to?
I believe so. Eventually someone got my Crime and Punishment and
Pete
riddles.
the Cat books. Yep.
So surprisingly, everyone got riddles.
Okay. The only question that I did not get an answer to, and Sterling, you don't have the answers in front of you, which is good. Bobby Witt pacing for 46 doubles this year. Since Mike Sweeney, the Royals have had 3 players record at least 46 doubles in a season. Name 2 of them. And the only guess we had was Whit Merrifield, which was wrong. So you said there was an obvious one out there.
I thought Billy Butler was obvious.
Billy Butler had 51 in the season. He is one of the 3.
My preseason bet of Michael Franco didn't pay off, so I know it's not Michael Franco.
It is not Franco.
Shockingly, I know. I thought he for some reason was going to.
Nope.
Yeah, Billy Butler was the obvious one to me. I don't know if Kendrys Morales got there. I really don't think.
He did not.
Yeah, I don't think Kendrys did. Since Mike Sweeney.
Yep, this person had 51 in the season as well. So he and Billy Butler both had 51.
Because Carlos Beltran's obvious, but that's pre-Sweeney.
It's not Carlos.
It's pre-Sweeney. Man, 51. I know I'm just blanking on a name right now. That's got to be crazy.
Alex Gordon.
Gordon.
Had 51.
Yeah.
Gordo.
Gordon. Don't give me and
I
wild
don't
card.
Think you'll get the third.
Is it De Jesus?
Nope, it's not De Jesus. Nope. I wish it was, because then I could have said, ding, ding, gone this question. Thanks to De Jesus.
Was
ding,
it?
Ding.
What,
Thanks, Ryan.
What year? What year was this?
Let's see. What year? Oh, my God. I almost gave away the I almost said the name.
So Gordon was obvious. I should have got that one. Billy Butler, to me, was the obvious one.
Oh, my God. I almost gave away his name. Okay, so the year this happened was the year of our Lord 2011.
Oh, wow. Well, then I would have thought David De Jesus.
De Jesus is still not the answer.
You like this guy a lot.
He had a great nickname.
Yes.
Based off the
Unieski Betancourt. Uni.
Nope, that's wrong as well. I don't think he had 46 hits in a season.
He was well represented in the NBA draft last night.
That's right. He would have been drafted last night.
Yep.
Jeff
Francoeur? Frenchie, that's correct.
Wow.
Francoeur had 47 of them.
Ding,
47 in 2011 when Francoeur OPS'd over 805 with 20 home runs and 47 doubles and batted .290 and got on base at .230. Yeah, Frenchie. Yes, sir.
My Jeff Francoeur signed bat really just took a huge uptick in money value right now with that. I think.
Oh, yeah, it did. 47 doubles in 2011. So those are the 3 that have done it since Mike Sweeney. I didn't want to just say, like, hey, who's got the most doubles in Royals history? And it's like, oh, Hal McRae and George Brett. And then it's like, okay, cool, yeah.
I like your question. I like the question.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right, we'll see what happens tonight with the Royals and Guardians game number 1. Again, Cleveland has been unbeatable at home. They are 26-9 at home, but they're only 25-18 on the road. They're only 7 games over 500. God, they've been amazing this year. But the Royals are so much better. The Royals are 27-15, so the Royals play 650 ball at home. We'll see. We'll see what happens tonight with Blake Lively and Ben Lively on the mound for the Guardians against Michael Wacha.
Hey, don't have too much fun without me tomorrow, Jason. Don't be safe, okay, without me here.
No
be
promises.
safe.
No promises, Sterling. Hey, you know what? You be safe, for real. We'll see you Monday, bud.